All right. We're back. We're still here.
We have not left.
We have not left. We're still in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, at the Airbnb, at the B&B. Brooks done and done. Jimmy Rispoli, Jake Lewis. We got BK here. We've been hanging out for a few days. Been having a blast. Honestly, it's been super nice. I think we're gonna have a great weekend.
I think this is the most ease my head's been all year. Just absolutely thriving on vibes.
We were all pretty worried you were gonna go into conniptions, not being able to do like a Tour de France every day.
We talking about yesterday? I absolutely smashed.
You did get to smash the pedals
215 normalized on the mountain bike, no big deal.
Yeah, no, it's been super sick. We did some cold plunges in the Arctic Lake Elkhart, and we spent about 2 hours in the hot tub this morning,
loosening the backs up,
stretching, talking about how old we are.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun out here, but otherwise, we've got another really, really fun guest, someone a little bit younger. We've been kind of talking to some old dogs lately, so thought it was about time we bring back some youth to the show because we're feeling a little bit old, huh, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean we haven't had really anybody young on here since Kayla, right? So we got another teenager on board. We got somebody who's he's won championships, 2 championships back to back, I believe, in Twins Cup. Proven race winner. Probably, one of the hottest, youngest prospects we have in MotoAmerica, and coming up through what used to be the traditional way through a manufacturer pipeline. We've got Blake Davis. He's 18 years old, from Virginia, and we're stoked to have you on the show.
Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I'm excited for it.
You just got into Milwaukee today? You flew in?
Yeah, we flew in a little bit earlier and straight to the hotel and then straight over here.
You're from Virginia. We were trying to figure that out because I thought you were from like real far down south, and then I couldn't remember where it was. But you're from Virginia.
Yeah, it's been a little bit rainy down there recently, but hopefully we got some nice weather for this weekend at least.
It's been we're rainy pretty much everywhere. I feel like I was just reading in New York, we haven't had a single dry weekend since November.
That's crazy. Well, it's been a drought in Florida, and we just actually got some rain. We got some big rain, actually, so it's kind of flipping. I think it's kind of crazy right now. Is it cold in Virginia? What?
It's been okay. When it's dry, it's nice, like 70, 75, but when it's raining, it'll get down, 55, 60, and just kind of miserable long days.
Have you been from Virginia your whole life?
Yeah, I grew up there and everything.
Okay. What part, like where are you at in terms of like the geography of the state?
I'm kind of right in the middle of it. I'm about an hour north of VIR, so an hour north of Danville, so not too far from there.
So home race, would that be a home race for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've raced there the least out of anywhere. They always had age restrictions. You always had to be 16 to ride there. So, I've raced there the least, but yeah, I'll have all my friends and family out there for sure.
Have you been there on any bike? You guys did Twins Cup there probably 2 years ago. Was it last time we were there? 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago. I did Twins Cup there. James actually.
Yeah, he was talking about
either
that
was
yesterday.
on the podium or won. I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, baby. First time, big on the podium. I'm pretty sure I raised my hand. I lost before the start-finish line.
What do you mean?
I went like this because I was leading it and I got drafted back.
Thought you won it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Wow, that's classic. That was probably the year I knocked myself out, wasn't it?
There's literally a picture of me with my hand up and 2 bikes going by.
Was it you? Did you
No, I was way back. I couldn't even see them. I was way back.
Dude, it was crazy. Yeah, it was a fun race, man. Yeah, I think the first time that I saw you race and kind of got a... saw your last name. I was like, oh, wow, this kid was New Jersey. Because I followed you for like 5 or 6 laps. And I was like, just thinking that, man, like, they're going to come back. And he just was like,
you're working a little too hard.
I was like, he's hitting his marks, man. There's no mistakes out of this kid.
Yeah, New Jersey, I always do really well there. So I really don't like the layout or anything, but I always seem to go well. So definitely one of my better tracks.
We were talking yesterday just about kind of how hard it is to gauge like how good kids are going to be because the bikes are so different now. So it's like until you get on a 600, it's kind of hard to really like look at somebody as a prospect. And as James was talking about how you could, riding with you on the track when you're on a Twins bike, you could kind of see that you had it in you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What else do you do down in Virginia? What do you guys kind of got around you? Is it a small town?
It's a bigger college town now, Liberty University. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but they have mountain bike trails, so I do a lot of mountain biking. They built for the students, and really that's about it. I've just started cycling more and more, like road cycling, but I'm not too big on it. Gets a little boring out there.
Sure does.
So yeah, just mountain biking, and then every weekend I'm traveling somewhere to go try and train.
Have you been like lifelong same town whole deal?
Yep, same house my whole life.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Is it? Have you been homeschooled or you did the traditional school route? Because you probably you'd be graduating this year. Or you graduated last year.
I'm gonna be graduating this year. I was in a private school all the way through middle school, and then for high school I went online and have been doing that since. And I'm ready to be done with it. I'm ready to be able to have more freedom, be able to go ride. I feel like I can go ride every day without having to do school, and be able to get a job, get a little bit more money so I can train more, stuff like that.
What's it like in West Virginia for training and riding?
Regular Virginia, Jimmy.
Oh, you're not in West Virginia.
No.
Regular Virginia.
Yeah,
Okay.
just Virginia.
All right, just V.
Yeah.
All right. What's it like for training there? Like, do you have moto tracks near you? Or are you traveling a lot, like several hours to go train?
Yeah, I'm traveling pretty much to get anywhere. VIR is really good to us. I can go to their go-kart track pretty much whenever. And like I said, it's only an hour away from me, so I'm up there quite a bit. I have a Yamaha R3 I take out to the go-kart track and, just took all the body work off it, go try and slide around a little bit, just messing around. But other than that, yeah, we're traveling. I go down to Corner Spin a lot. It's kind of like American Super Camp, a dirt school. And, I love it down there. I'm a coach down there. Aaron Stevenson, he's amazing. And other than that, yeah, we're Georgia, Florida, 6-8 hours to get anywhere else.
Before we get too deep into it, we got to give a big shout out to our partners. As always, Law Tigers. Law Tigers are America's motorcycle lawyers. A motorcycle accident isn't something you ever expect, but you need to be prepared in case it does happen. If you or someone you know is ever injured in a motorcycle accident, always call Law Tigers first. Get them on speed dial. The services are of no cost to riders, and they fight to get riders taken care of and back on the road. With Law Tigers, Jimmy,
You never ride alone.
never ride alone. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. Visit lawtigers.com. Who else we got, Jimmy?
Yeah, we got Yuasa Battery, the most trusted battery in power sports since 1979. For over 45 years, Yuasa has delivered power, reliability, and passion at every turn. Yuasa supplies power sports batteries to more OEMs and riders than our competitors combined in the U.S. and globally. The reason is simple: premium quality, unmatched reliability, long life, and advanced engineering with years of applications and expertise. Yuasa Battery, setting the standard for power sports batteries since 1979. Each and every day starts
With Yuasa.
Find your battery at your local Yuasa dealer via yuasabatteries.com.
Big shout out to both Yuasa and Law Tigers. They allow us to have Billy here supporting us behind the scenes, editing and getting us around the country doing these pods. We really enjoy it. It's been a lot of fun, and we couldn't do it without Law Tigers and Yuasa Battery. Of course, follow us on all of our channels, Pipe Dreams Pod on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and please share with all your buddies. It definitely helps us get the word out there. You guys have been doing a huge amount for us on YouTube. We've been growing pretty steadily, but could always do a little more. So share, subscribe.
Also, our Instagram has been popping so big lately. All the comments, and whether you like us, hate us, let us know. It's all about growing, and we're trying to do our best. We know we try to improve every single step, and every single pod we try to do something a little bit better. So as always, we have some merch that we're going to drop some new stuff. BK is working hard on our new drop, our capsule collection, but that all goes straight back into this so that we can give you guys more pods. We hear you through the DMs. We hear everybody. We know we need to do more pods, but we just physically can't at the moment.
Yeah. We could.
Yeah, we could.
We could, but it's tough. Pick up some merch, defileodds.co. We do still have a few shirts left on there, but otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and let's get into it. I know you said high school's been homeschooled for you. Have you done any of the traditional kid stuff in high school? Did you do prom? Did you do any of that stuff?
Yeah, I went to prom for my first time this year. I actually went right near Daytona. I went in Ocala. with a friend actually from the racetrack. Went with her, and then I had a second one up in Richmond, Virginia, just a few months after that.
Dang,
You're
you're
hot
just
demand.
playing,
You're just
dude.
traveling nationwide, baby.
Dude, different area codes.
No. Yeah. No, I mean, I get out, have fun with everybody. A few of my friends went homeschool soon after I did as well, and, in my hometown. And we go mountain biking together, and we stay in touch quite a bit. Other than that, I'm not big on watching football or anything, so I let them go to the high school football games, and, I'll go hang out with them after or whatever. But, I hang out. Most of my friends are from other states, Racing, takes us everywhere. So buddies in Colorado, Jersey, California, just all over.
Do you feel like you have enjoyed not doing the traditional school route in high school?
Yeah, definitely. We wouldn't be able to travel as much as we do. We travel, like I said, all over the country. So, if I was still in school, I would be, restricted quite a bit. And being able to, I spent 3 weeks in Florida over the off season, just training, and hung out at Supercross and the 200, and then the other 2 weeks I was just training the whole time. So being able to have that freedom is amazing.
Yeah, I think I saw you at Bush now the one day, just putting in laps.
Yeah, exactly. Have my R3 out there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure y'all are ripping laps around me. I was struggling a little bit.
I actually got some footage of you behind, just following. Yeah, I mean the Supermoto bike's so much faster. Like those things look like they're just tough to
Yeah.
turn and so tight.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, like the R3 looks really difficult. Like even the Kramer when I rode Cody's Kramer there, it's just hard to get it turned. The Supermoto is just so
Yeah.
much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
They're
You probably can't
slow.
really slide it around as much.
Yeah,
either,
but
huh?
it's
Really?
dude, the R3's slow.
Yeah, you can't really get it off the corner at all.
Still leg dangling though. This guy.
Were you?
Oh,
Big
dude,
leg
Probably,
dude,
yeah.
like, the boot was on the ground.
As far as the school deal, are you like cramming? How does that work? Is that like you got to do a certain thing every day of the week, or you kind of like take a couple weeks off and then cram a bunch? Or
Yeah, I kind of made it hard on myself. My first 2 years, I'd gotten almost 2 years behind.
ooh,
Oh wow.
And so now I'm just about caught up. The high school I used to go to, or middle school I used to go to, they're all just graduated last week. So I'm gonna be graduated by August is the plan. But yeah, I've been going to the library recently just so I can get a ton of it done while I can. Tuesdays and Thursdays are kind of my days I try and grind. I have a personal trainer I go to on Tuesday and Thursday, and then also a chiropractor I go to on Tuesdays. And I try and ride, at least in my backyard, ride something that day. So, those are usually pretty full. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm in the library, on my computer just trying to get work done.
Now, when you got a personal trainer, so are you doing more traditional stuff? I know you said you do a lot of mountain biking. What kind of training aspects are you doing and how has that changed, right? Like you're 18, so you're just starting to come in, being a man, right? So you're starting to get all through that. So, you're probably growing quite a bit and stacking on some muscles. So
Yeah, definitely. We're doing a lot of cardio. I don't want to get too heavy, but I started to realize I've actually been wanting to put on a little bit of weight here recently. I weighed 135 from 2020 all the way till the beginning of this season. So, from 14 to 18, I weighed the same. And just too light. We're having to add so much weight to the bike, and
yeah, just keep stacking it on, buddy.
oh yeah, I'll be close to y'all soon. But no, trying to put on a little bit of weight, so adding a little bit more weight to some of my workouts and stuff, but really just a lot of my body weight. I really like my trainer. She has me do a lot of rotational work and a lot of stuff I'd never even heard of before, and it's I found it really helpful for me.
What did you feel like was the biggest thing? Last year was like your first full year on the 600, jumping from the Twins Cup bike to the 600. What was some of the things you like made you? I don't know if you had a trainer before that, but what are some of the things you focused on after that year?
Really physically, there wasn't too much I needed to change. The biggest side was the mental side. Like even first race at Atlanta, just going down through the S's, dropping down to 5. It's just everything's coming up so much quicker, and the timing of it. If you're off, 5 feet and on the left, so you go to flip right and you're off 10 feet and you just get backed up. So really the physical side, I've always really felt fine on. I love endurance racing. I always have, and never really had a problem.
You ever get any arm pump riding any of the bikes at all?
No, never really got an arm pump.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, normally you stepping up to a bigger bike and, stuff like that starts to happen. So that's pretty impressive right out of the gate.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10", 5'11".
You feel like you're done growing? Maxed out?
Hopefully. Yeah, I'm trying to stay small, but I guess we'll see.
Cigarettes and coffee, man.
I was just gonna say you pass on a coffee. We'll start that process right now.
No. I don't do coffee, but yeah, trying to stay small for sure. Gotta learn how to tuck like you, Corey.
Fuck, man, my back's killing me right now. I'm just thinking about it. I'm getting ready for this weekend. What about your parents? Your dad, is one of the nicest dudes. I've spent a lot of time. I've probably talked to your dad more than I talked to you around the paddock. He's just such a nice guy, super friendly. What do your parents do at home?
My dad does HVAC for the hospital around us. He stays at the hospital all the time and just does HVAC work for him. He does all their specialty stuff, so the stuff that's kind of weird, other people can't figure out. He's really good with, really smart. And then my mom works for a nonprofit, does part-time, and you can sponsor like a hungry kid in Africa or whatever. Well, she's kind of the middleman for that, so she gets the money to them and letters back from them, stuff like that.
That's really cool.
And then I have 3 siblings. I'm the youngest of 4, so
wow.
Growing up with that was a lot of fun for sure.
Are you the only one that rides?
My brother used to ride. He's 5 years older than me, but he just wasn't as competitive as I was. He's still quick on a motorcycle. He can still get out and roll really good. But, when it got to race time, he just wasn't as competitive and, would just kind of fall back sometimes, then just decided to call it off, go play football, lacrosse, and school sports.
So he road raced or did something else?
He liked motocross more, but he did some road race with us also.
Okay.
Did you start by coming up just on like pocket bikes? Like, how did you get started? Because I don't really remember seeing you. I actually didn't know you rode like dirt and, hearing you ride mountain bikes and stuff like that. Like, I've always just known you as just being on a road race.
Yeah, I never really did too much of anything else. When I was 4 and 5, I started on motocross. Well, I started when I was 3 on a pocket bike in my backyard. And then, 4
on the
or
dirt?
5. Yep. My dad got me a pocket bike and would just send me down through the backyard, some trails and stuff on my pocket bike. And, it was a blast. And then, when I turned 6, I got on the asphalt and never really turned back. It was kind of supermoto stuff. But I always just stayed asphalt only, would only run the go-kart track.
Did you come up through a series or something? Was that a VIR you were riding?
Yeah, VIR a lot, but we went around with SMEC all the time. We did all their rounds. We went to Canada with them, here in Wisconsin, down to Florida. I mean, just all over the country doing supermoto stuff.
Is that because of an age thing? Like, because where you could just ride, or was it because you just had a supermoto bike?
Well, we had a supermoto bike, and then also my dad was actually running the pro class for SMEC. And, chasing some points around. And he did really well. He's racing against Miles Thornton, Eric Stump, Johnny Lewis. They were all doing it. And, he was real good. He would always come in 4th behind those 3. So, but other than that, kind of just riding around wherever we could ride.
When did you get into, like, what was the trajectory? Was it always to go road racing?
Yeah, kind of by the time when we started Supermoto, we were like, I want to road race. And then when I was 8, bought a bike, bought a NSR 50 that was built to the moon, had a 63 kit in it, like super light flywheel. I would always stall the thing out. And I started doing Wera stuff, the mini class. And, I raced Pittsburgh on that, Little Talladega, Barber. We did a bunch of tracks on that thing. And then went up to RS125 frame, but it had the 85 motor in it. And then RS125, then R3, and just kind of built on it from that.
So you went RS125 and then an R3?
Yes.
Kind of like
Whoa.
a step backwards.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's got to be kind of weird.
Yeah, it was definitely weird, but watching like all the Junior Cup stuff, that was kind of where we had to go. Making it in the GP anything is a lot tougher than making it in the production bike stuff. So
Did you ever want to go as a kid, like try to go to Europe or?
yeah, I always did, but it's a lot of money, a lot of commitment that we just couldn't put in at the time. But it wasn't. I wanted to be on the world stage, whether it was MotoGP, World Superbike. The end goal was to always be on the world stage. I want to be racing against the best of the best guys.
And is that still where your mindset is, or are you kind of on a different path now that you're more tied in with Yamaha and so on and so forth here in the U.S.?
No, I definitely want to be on the world stage still. Anything we can do to make it over there, but it's still kind of the same story. You need a lot of money to make it overseas, and still working on that.
Yeah, but like the pipeline, like Gerloff went straight from
Yeah.
Yamaha to Yamaha.
Yeah. No, for sure.
If there's is a pipeline, it's
You're in it. Yeah.
That's kind of the hope. That's the hope we have is to
Yeah.
make it through Yamaha somehow, get over there.
What about at what point, like what was your first kind of realization that you could go road racing, and like was it just you showed up to MotoAmerica Junior Cup kind of thing, or like what was how did you get here, I guess, in terms of actually getting into MotoAmerica?
Yeah, so like I said, I went to the R3, raced that for a few years. Then I got a 400, kind of thinking, okay, we're gonna go start racing some MotoAmerica stuff. My parents put me in for half a season. I turned 14 halfway through the season, so they put me in. And then Into Track Days picked me up with their team the next season on the R3. And, I really struggled in Junior Cup. I never really did anything good. I never had a top 5. But they went ahead and threw me on the R7. And the R7 I clicked with pretty quick. I won the first race of the season on it. And, I'll say that race was a lot of the bike. I had one of the fast bikes out there. I was one of the lightest riders, but it kind of clicked right then. I was like, okay, maybe I can win some races. Maybe I can get a championship. And I feel like that was kind of when it all started, getting the ball rolling.
What race was that?
That was Daytona, 2022.
You were there, no?
Yep, I was there. Yeah.
This guy smoked you.
No, I didn't race the Twins Cup there.
Okay, you got out of that one.
No, but it was a huge battle, no?
Yeah, it was
Is
like
that where
10,
Maz hit
that's
the
when
wall?
Maz hit the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that was an insane race.
It
There was
was.
like 8 of you or 10
It
of
was
you.
scary
in
to
that.
watch,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that guy just pinballed off everybody.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, and then we had I won't say any names, but a European rider racing against us that race, and he wasn't the smoothest rider, and he would throw it in about anywhere, and half of the race was just dodging him, and he ended up taking out 2 or 3 people on the last lap, and it's just it kind of opened my eyes a little bit though. I was like, okay, they don't care, they're going out there to win, and that kind of helped me think about that a lot. Like, I have to go out there and try and win. I don't just go out there and do my best. I go out there to win.
So obviously, you're only 18. 4 years ago, you just got into this, right? So what was it like? What was your mindset at that age, if you remember? You might not, but what was it like, showing up to the track for the first time? Like, were you coming into it like, I'm here and I'm gonna win kind of a thing, or were you just like, let's give this a go, let's give it a try, see where it goes?
No, obviously I wanted to win. Atlanta was my first round. It was COVID season, 2020. I was on the 400, and I was like, okay, I know these are all the fast kids. I definitely want to do, setting goals. Maybe I want a top 5. Maybe that's what it is. I think I was in the battle for 6 one of the races, but, I didn't think I would have a chance at winning or anything like that. And I think that was kind of what held me back the most, was not thinking, oh, I can go win. I need to go push for a win. I was thinking, oh, let's go for a top 5, and I think that's what kind of held me back.
And was it just you and your parents and like your first races? Like, was there anybody helping you or mentoring at the time?
Yeah, so we had rented a spot out of a tractor trailer. So it was kind of a bunch of different teams under one trailer. And we just rented it, so they would take our bike and all of our tools and everything to all the different rounds. And yeah, I had a few people helping me out, but it was kind of just me, my dad. One of my dad's buddies was my other mechanic, and it was kind of a really it was my family running the team, everything like that. But you know, I had Coach Aaron Stevenson from Cornerspin. He was there showing up to the races with me. But you know, not too many other people.
What things did you learn from Aaron Stevens to make the jump from Supermoto to the R3 to then, I mean, because you rode essentially a ton of small tracks, and then you go to an R3 or R4 400, and then go to like the biggest tracks. Like, what was that like in that time period, and how did you have to?
So, like I said, I raced the NSR 50 and then the RS 85.
So you already had some experience on Barber and Talladega and
So
stuff.
yeah, like Barber, Atlanta, I kind of knew a little bit already. Pittsburgh, I knew. Jersey, I knew. I knew pretty much all the tracks we raced on the East Coast. And but just from doing weird stuff, and really it wasn't too bad of a transition. Like, honestly, the kart tracks are a whole lot harder to ride than any of the big tracks. You know, the big track stuff comes up a lot slower, or at least it looks like it. You know, this track's so wide, and you know, riding the NSR 50 on the go-kart track, it's just super hard to turn, and that's why I still train on the go-kart track.
The 125 must have like been like crazy feeling, and then go to like kind of a sloppier.
Yeah, and I actually had a season where I raced both. I raced the R3 and the RS 125.
Wow, that must have been pretty nuts. Because I rode a 125,
Yeah,
and they were
yeah.
like the stiffest motorcycle I've ever ridden. Like, you breathe on it, and you could like high side that thing.
Exactly, and that's what you know, riding when I get off the RS and onto the R3. The R3 I couldn't turn, and I was always complaining, Dad, it's heavy, it won't turn, none of this. And he's like, just go ride it faster, just go ride it. And so yeah, it was definitely a weird switch right there.
As far as like actual road racing help, I know you work with Kyle Wyman. Do you still work with Kyle as kind of a rider coach a bit?
Yes,
Yeah?
I do, yeah.
Was there anybody else as you were like a young kid coming up that was helping you with road racing specifically that had a road racing background?
Yeah, when I was real little, I went to the Heron compound a lot. From the time I was 6 till I was probably 12, 13, I was there, you know, just about every weekend through the winter. And, you know, we rode with Heron a lot. But, yeah, I mean, I'd still say the biggest help I've ever had is Kyle.
Really?
Yeah, as soon as I got into when I was 14 or 15 on the R3, you know, he's kind of what I feel like helped me make that big step from, you know, trying to get a top 10 to, you know, trying to battle for podiums and wins.
And what was that allowed for that step? What did he do for you?
A lot of it's just the mentality, having the confidence. You know, going in there, like I said, going in there trying to win a race. Kyle was always, even if he didn't believe in me, he'd make me think he did. So, you know, I feel like that was always huge for me, going in knowing I could win the race instead of just going out there and riding around. Yeah,
I mean, I know that's a huge part. As I've gotten older, I think, you know, it's something, being able to learn that young is a huge advantage. You know what I mean? It's took years and years and years to kind of develop that, because, you know, even just not knowing why you're out there per se, like who you're riding for. We talked about it with Jake a little bit yesterday when we did a podcast with him, but it was, you know, once you start riding for yourself and you kind of understand like where your goals are, and then you kind of also looking at it from a perspective of like knowing that you can do something versus kind of guessing or hoping that you can do something.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a lot different of a feeling. So I think for sure we were lucky. We had JP in our corner always kind of, I don't know if he was.
We just had a bubble.
Yeah.
Like, we would step out and then come back in, and even if you had bad results, you had somebody there to like, nah, man, like, this is just part of it. We're moving forward. Look, take some of the pieces that you did learn. And, you know, we always had like just, you know, Richie, JP, like we always had people that were just kind of keeping the bumpers like at a bowling alley. And we were just, no matter if we were bouncing off them, we were still going down the path. And I think that's a lot of things that's tough for young kids, is with parents, and to not have some sort of good guidance, right, to help. So to see you come through that traditional trajectory, and that's why I think we're harping so much on, you know, who's been helping at such a young age, because you seem so sound on the track and off the track.
Yeah, and also Hayes has helped me out a lot too. From the time I was 15 till really up until now and everything, he helped me a lot with the on track stuff. His pretty much teach me how to do a track walk, like going out there doing a track walk and being able to go out first session and already be down to a fast time. Like, if you go out and you're a second off in practice one, well, the next session everybody drops more time. So now I'm a second and a half off, and it just backs up all weekend. So for me, the most important session is even the first half of the first practice, getting to speed quick is the most important for me. And Hayes has helped me out with that a lot.
Has that changed anymore since you started beating up on him a little more this year?
Yeah, a little bit.
Got a little more quiet.
No, he's awesome still. But yeah, I mean, we definitely. It's crazy that I'm battling against Hayes. Our local bike shop has a poster of you on the wall when you're on
No
the
way.
Jordan bike, and just battling against some of these guys that I've always watched race Superbikes and everything like that. It's definitely crazy.
What does that feel like for you as far as like internal?
It was definitely scary going into my first super sport season and seeing I had to race you, PJ, Matt, even David Anthony, Jake Lewis, all these guys that I've watched race Superbikes, and I'm like, man, I'm coming in, rookie season in super sport and got some stiff competition, but kind of back to the same thing, knowing I can do it, knowing I really think the year would have been a lot different if we didn't start out at Atlanta. I love Atlanta, and I go really well there. And I feel like if I didn't have that boost of confidence at the beginning of the season, not knowing I could do it, the season could have been a lot different.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's crazy to think how I feel the same way when like the schedule flops sometimes, and like you start off on a track that's like, for me, getting Barber out of the way this year early was kind of nice because that's like my worst track usually. I love riding there, but I hate racing there. I always just struggle for some reason. So like getting that out of the way, then you kind of know what you've got. Like you got some good tracks coming up, you got some momentum going, some confidence, and then it's like, for me, when Barber's in the middle of the year, it's like you kind of go like this, then you get this one track, and it's just like nosedive.
Yeah, right. Kind of ruins the flow and everything like that.
But it is funny how the calendar does kind of affect you. You feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I've always done really well at Daytona, right? And always starts the season. I haven't always, but Atlanta has always been something for me. Like unlocking that key at Atlanta has been pretty tough. And this year I actually made a couple big breakthroughs. So I'm like same as you. I'm like, man, that was my worst track. Like I'm feeling good.
It's only
like,
upwards from here.
Yeah. So is there any sort of tracks that for you are like Achilles heels?
Yeah, actually here in the Ridge are kind of where I've struggled. Brainerd used to be really bad. Brainerd was definitely my worst.
Why do you think that is?
I really have no clue. Like I would go there and I did my either first or second ever super sport race there. I did a wild card in 2023 there.
At which one? Brainerd?
Yeah, Brainerd. Here and Brainerd. And did terrible in both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, then last year did the full season. And here and Brainerd were my worst results, I'm pretty sure. So, like, I don't know what it is. I think here it's just there's so many straightaways. I don't feel like I can be aggressive and, like, attack in every corner. Just because, you're almost getting tired and lazy on the straightaways. So I feel like that's a big thing for me here. And then Brainerd, I really don't know. I feel like I'm on rails when I'm riding there. And then I come in, see I'm a second and a half off the leader. So I really have no clue.
Yeah, Brainerd was tough. Because you can lose a second in the first split. And then you got the rest of the tight section. And you feel like you're pushing so hard and you go slow. It's like.
Do you think that because these two tracks are kind of flowy, do you think because you came up the supermoto and tight tracks and always pushing, like do you think maybe that has any sort of?
Yeah, I mean I see what you're saying, but I have always it's kind of up and down for me. Like I like the long sweeping stuff, and that's kind of what confused me about the Ridge. Like the Ridge, looking at the track map, I'm like, oh, I should love this track, and then I go out there and last year wasn't too bad, but it wasn't what we needed. And then, but like I love Laguna, and I feel like that kind of those long sweeping fast corners kind of suit me. So I really don't know what it is at all.
What did you learn last year? What was probably the biggest takeaway, after the whole year? And you ended up third in the championship.
Yeah, just the consistency. Like at my bad rounds, I still need to be top 3. You know, like it doesn't matter. Um, Jake actually kept gaining points on me, whether it was a rain race or mixed conditions. When the conditions weren't perfect, Jake would gain a ton of time on me. And it's not like, oh, I need to go out there and survive this race. Like, no, every race is a race. Every race is points. Every race is, time to move forward. And, I feel like when it was mixed conditions or I was uncomfortable on the track, I would just kind of sit back and ride around. And even like off the starts, I used to be really uncomfortable being close with everybody. And, I feel like I saw a few times where I'd sit up and just kind of cruise into turn 1. Like, why am I not driving into there? And so that's just kind of the stuff I've been working on this year.
So some aggression, like first lap aggression, and then, picking up in mixed conditions and maybe attacking things a little bit differently.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Just, like you said, the aggression and being able to throw it in there on anybody. I feel like I could make some good passes last year and stuff like that, but like now, especially having the torque
This year. On the big teammate. Twice, this guy.
No, but
You're talking about
Yeah, Matty.
Yeah.
He found some
No, that was
aggression
good.
on
I
last
was
last
pumped
lap
for
at
you
Barber,
there.
right?
yeah, last lap of Barber, I
And
tried to
Atlanta.
throw it in there on him, but couldn't quite make it happen. And then anywhere we're teammates and everything, but that just means we're under the same canopy. There's nothing on the track. We're still gonna race it out, and I hope he feels the same way. I hope he could throws down if we start getting into a battle or anything. But no, I definitely feel like I can throw it in more this year.
So talk us through the whole Yamaha deal. You said you actually signed with Yamaha directly with the factory in the U.S. here 2 years ago.
The beginning of 24.
24,
Yeah.
okay. But you've been kind of a Yamaha guy since you got on the Twin Scope program. Obviously, N2 kind of has a relationship, right, with Yamaha and the Champ School, and they're kind of tied together a bit, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of how it started, into, if it wasn't for N2, I wouldn't be here at all. They picked me up when I was 14 and, brought me from Junior Cup all the way through Super Sport. Got my first Super Sport win with them, got third in the championship. So, all credit goes to them. But, that's kind of how we got in with Yamaha also, was they had the connection through Champ School. And, Kyle actually was throwing in good words for us and everything like that. And yeah, I think they started helping out with the R7s, helping out the team, giving them parts, maybe a little bit of money here and there, just because, they liked the team, they liked me. And then, going into Super Sport, I think they want a factory Super Sport team. And I think last year we were trying to get in on that and like trying to push it, but we weren't quite there. And I think this year it's definitely a lot closer. And I can't say 100%, but I believe Matt is signed to Yamaha also. And I know the team has Yamaha support, attack support. Everybody helps us out, and that they're kind of what is making everything possible for us.
So when you did the deal with N2 at that point, and you may not know because you're still pretty young, but was that kind of like your parents were able to step back, or were your parents still kind of having to support you? Did you have other sponsors at that point that were helping your parents out?
No, so N2 actually covered everything for us.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, they picked me up. Like I said, I'd never had a top 5 in Junior Cup, did half a season, and N2 picked me up and actually paid me a little bit, which was awesome. Like,
Oh, wow.
nothing crazy, but, just enough to make me feel good, feel like a real rider, And my dad was still a mechanic, and then it kind of stayed the same until Super Sport last season, 2024 season, is when Yamaha stepped in, and that's kind of when it was like, okay, now it's not just my team throwing a little bit of money at me to make me feel good. Now it's like a real thing. I need to take this as a job. Like, it needs to be my everyday life, and that's kind of when a lot of it changed. But no, as far as my family goes, really everybody took over as soon as I got into N2. And, my family still comes to the races, my mom, my sister, my dad. My dad's still my mechanic, but definitely a lot more relaxed now.
Oh, your dad's still your mechanic.
Yes, he is.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
he is.
So how's that relationship work and that dynamic as having him as your dad and mechanic?
So really, he's just my mechanic. So during the weekend, we don't talk much. I come in, I talk to my crew chief, I talk to my data guy, and then I go into the rider's lounge, get undressed. Like, I don't talk to my dad very much. He's heard the horror stories of dads that wouldn't step back, wouldn't leave the kid alone, wouldn't leave the team alone. And, he really wanted to avoid that. So we don't talk much during the race weekend, and I think that's what makes it to where it can still work.
Do you guys stay in the same hotel room and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll stay in the same hotel room, but even at night, we don't talk about the racing. We don't talk about anything really about the weekend until the weekend's over, and that's kind of been an unknown rule for us. No one ever really said it, but it's kind of just it's how it's been.
Oh, that's really nice.
That
I
is
mean,
cool.
you don't hear that too often.
Yeah.
You see parents that kind of get a little too, you get the moto dads and that kind of thing, which I don't get the sense that your dad's that kind of guy. But was there any things that your dad kind of required of you growing up, or your parents in general? Like, obviously you did the homeschool thing, but was there like, you got to get good grades or you got to do X, Y, Z? What did they kind of ask of you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, really, stay out of trouble, get good grades, and I could go racing. That was kind of how it went. I remember there was a few times where I'd be getting into a little bit of trouble, and they're like, "Okay, do you want to race this weekend?" And I'd straighten up.
What
real
kind of
quick.
trouble are you talking about?
Nothing crazy, but like in school.
Couple nights in the clinker. What?
No. Like in elementary school, I'd get sent to the principal office talking
Dude,
too much.
Elementary school.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, nothing crazy, but definitely it would scare me straight for sure.
That's
So
all.
you went to private school. Were you wearing like a suit and tie private school?
Yeah, pretty much. We had a collared shirt and we had to wear khaki shorts.
We need a picture of
Khaki
that.
shorts. Yeah. Was it like
Did you-
all boys or like a Catholic school or something?
It was a Christian school,
Okay.
but no, I mean, it wasn't all boys school or anything like that. But
that's what I did, all boys school for middle school actually.
Oh, really?
Private school, suit and tie every day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can tie a tie? Or was
no,
it
we
clip
didn't have
on?
to do a tie. We didn't have
Oh,
to
you
do a
didn't have
tie.
to do a
No,
tie.
just a collared shirt and like some khaki pants. But
Were they real strict, like, hit you over the knuckles with a ruler kind of a deal, or?
no,
Not one of
but I believe my brother got the paddle one time.
No
What?
way.
Yeah, but other than that, they were pretty laid back.
They probably were done away with that by the time you came through.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't get away with that stuff no more.
No.
But going through that school system and racing, was it quite tough? Were they pretty strict on? Did they know about racing? Did they support it or not?
Yeah, they supported it quite a bit.
that's awesome.
And so that was kind of this school had the same rule on me. They were like, you can miss as much school as you want through middle school and everything, as long as you have good grades and as long as you stay out of trouble. But, going into high school, they were like, okay, we can't really keep this up. Like, you're missing months of school and, like, we can't just keep covering for you. So that's when I decided to go online.
That makes sense. I think we've all been through that. I think like New York or maybe a state thing, like legally, I think I didn't make enough days to technically graduate, but I had, good grades, so they didn't really have a choice. We had to write a letter or something in to plead that they let me walk graduation. But more on the Yamaha kind of deal. How long are you? I know now you signed in with them and so on and so forth. How long of a deal is that? Is it like a year to year kind of a thing, or you have some like guarantee that you've got a little bit of time to grow?
I'm not really sure on how much I can say, but I believe I'll be with them for a few more years. Hopefully another 2 would be great. So
you want to go? Your end goal in the U.S. is to go World Superbike, or would you go to like World Super Sport ahead of that if you could?
Probably World Super Sport. It looks like a lot of things are going to be changing here soon, and I think staying in Super Sport is kind of the move to be at right now.
Do you think you see a lot of these younger guys that come through the pipeline and get on super bikes really early? Just hearing you say super sport, is that something that you want to try to really? I mean, you've come up at a pretty young age, right? It's kind of an old boy sport at the moment in a lot of the series. There's a lot of old guys in all the top spots.
What are you trying to say?
just look at this. Look at the series.
Yeah, dude. All right.
So, is it something that you're looking at trying to make your career a little bit longer, maybe, or is it just where you're at right now? This is the best decision to stay where you are.
I believe there's going to be some changes in a lot of the series here soon.
You mean like in Europe, or you mean here?
Really all over. I believe that super sport's going to be one of the top classes here soon, and I think having that extra time and move up and get a year or two in Superbike and then come right back to super sport. I don't really think that's the move, so I think staying in super sport and kind of grind now, getting my time would be amazing.
I've heard this rumor. I've heard BSB was going to be one of the first ones to take away Superbike and go to a next gen, like super sport class and take over.
I heard there's an American series maybe that's doing the same thing. That's what I heard.
What? Our series?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was happening.
No, there's
a pretty big
though.
rumor that they're going to get rid of Superbike, right?
Yeah. I heard that BSB and MotoAmerica are kind of on the same page on that. It sounds like Blake's got some insider info over there. So
where are you gonna keep?
No, I mean I don't know. I don't know anything, but
he's staying super sport.
I do know what it is. Super sport.
It's all right. Listen, this is a pretty rumor loose program we got
just
going
like
here.
starting shit. We were talking about this yesterday, but do you feel like having been R3, R7, now the R9, R6, now the R9, do you feel like having been on the same kind of foundation of a motorcycle has been helpful for you? Like it hasn't been like you've gone from riding a Ninja 400 to a Kawasaki to a Yamaha to Ducati.
Right,
like you've been kind of on the same pipeline as far as a bike as well. Do you think that's helped?
Yeah, definitely. I think Yamaha has some of the best handling motorcycles through pretty much every class, and I feel like you ride all of them, you can get away with riding all of them similar just because they do handle so well. And, I feel like that's helped a lot. Really the biggest change for me and the biggest struggle I think has been this year going to the R9. The R6 had no torque, but we had the top speed and it would handle amazing. And this year it's kind of the opposite. We still, it still handles amazing, but we have all the torque and no top speed. And, Matt has gotten used to that really quick for being a Superbike rider. He's kind of being able to ride it a little bit more like the Superbike, and I've kind of had to adjust to that coming from the R3, from the R6, from the R7, where you have to carry so much corner speed. Now we have to pretty much point and shoot a lot more, and that's been the biggest change between all of them, I think.
Are you able to feel some of the chassis characteristics that carry through? Like, is there specific things that you can say, like, from each bike are similar?
I think the R3 and R7 are pretty similar. Just you do have a little bit of problems going through some fast corners. You get a lot of chatter and a lot of front tuck, but the R9 and the R6 are really similar handling, where you can push harder on the front than you can on any other motorcycle. Like the R6 has forever been the best handling production bike there is, and just being able to have that confidence on the front end is kind of what's saving me right now, I believe.
We talk a lot about riding different bikes. We talked about it last night as well. Having ridden different, like Jake, for example, he's riding the Hooligan on a Harley, he's riding the Bagger on a Harley, and then he's hopping on an R9 to go race Super Sport all on the same day. Do you feel like, or have you spent any other time on any other bikes? And, do you feel like you're missing anything by not maybe having some diversity?
So when I was younger, I did a lot of that. Like, actually, when I was riding the Heron Compound, they would have 8 races in a day, and I would race 7 of them on 4 or 5 different bikes I had. And, I feel like that helped me a lot, just being able to go out and try and adapt to anything. My dad always thought it was crazy. I'd come in and he'd be like, okay, this bike's GP shift, and you're starting on this row of the grid, this many laps, go have fun. And, then come in and back-to-back next race and do that, all day. But now I believe it's good for me to train on multiple bikes, but stay racing and stay competitive on my one main bike.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Do you think that having that many laps on early at an early age helped you to where you are now for feeling wise?
Yeah, definitely having that many laps, and on so many different bikes, it's kind of like you just have to adjust to anything. And like, you know, I'm not big on excuses. You know, if the bike's not right, you can change the bike 4 times, and if it's still not right, it's not the bike's fault. So, you know,
Did you steal
Dude,
that
did
from
you see
Marquez this weekend?
Marquez?
yeah,
Yeah, you did.
No, that's
Dude.
what I actually,
I just was like, what?
yeah. And so, no, definitely big shout out to Mark there. He,
He hit it on the head.
Dude,
Yeah.
that was good.
No, I saw that, and you know, it's kind of exactly, you know, it was a good way to say exactly what we've been trying to work on. You know, just you know, you can't just blame everything on the bike or blame everything on the situation. You know, it's always you can change something to help it make it better.
Have you learned anything from Matt in that regard? As far as obviously he's the guy to beat, right? So have you kind of had to maybe take that to heart a little bit more so than you would have in the past? Now that you got a teammate.
Yeah, definitely. And Matt, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he goes out and the bike, you know, you know, at the beginning of the weekend, I talked to my data guy. I go on my track walk. You know, I take all my notes. I'm looking at, you know, our engine braking strategy, our shift maps, everything like that. Matt, you know, just kind of walks up, you know, what's up, everybody? Heads out, doesn't look at anything, then comes up back P1 next morning. It's like, what in the world? Like, you know, I'm working so hard, you know, trying to think about everything I can, trying to get so prepared for the weekend. And he just comes out here and puts it P1 no matter what. And I'm like, you know, he is just riding around whatever issues there are. You know, he's not, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can do off the track that I believe can make you better, but also it comes down just being able to ride around the issues and get the bike around the track the fastest.
I mean, we did a podcast with him, and he was so adamant that he doesn't get in the weeds. And that was something that I thought was crazy coming from Superbike. And then now with the next gen, having different clamps and links and stuff like that, being able to be a step back in his direction. And he just firmly was like, that's their job. I show up and I ride the piss out of it every single time. I think he said on the limiter, and they got to fix it. And that's it. I just got to keep riding hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's exactly like that. Like I said, like I'll be sitting there, I'll be, you know, sitting at our table studying these papers, going through everything. And Matt comes in, he's like, what are you doing? These tables are making a mess, or these papers are making a mess on the table. And like, just throws them on the ground and walks out. And he's like, yeah, I don't need that. That's just a whole bunch of stuff that slows you down. I'm like, okay, whatever, sure.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah.
Is he pretty intense teammate? Or is he pretty cool?
No, he's laid back. He's super cool, but you know, it puts a lot of pressure on me. You know, he's top rider last year, top rider again this year, and you know, closing that gap, I definitely want to be a lot closer. It's kind of gotten under my skin being P3 to him and PJ every race, and you know, all last season, all this season, you know, they're the two, you know, outstanding riders, and you know, I need to be the third one up there battling with them in every race.
What do you think that step is? Like when you've now raced, you know, 15 races, right? What is that? What is it? Where is it? Can you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's just being comfortable with crashing. You know, they crash, you know, 3 times a lap. We just don't see it, and you know, that's what Matt rides at, you know, 99% all the time. And then, you know, in a few corners, he'll be like, okay, here's 100%. And that 100% is a crash, you know? So he rides right there all the time, and he'll step over the line, step back. And, you know, I feel like I can ride at 98% the whole race. But, you know, he gets 2-3 tenths a lap over an 18-lap race. You know, he's got seconds on me. So, you know, it's just closing in that little stuff.
What do you think that is? Where is that, finding that limit and trying to find? This sounds like a Hayes thing. You know, he used to talk about the percents, being able to run in the percent of 95 to 100, but being able to really find a percent out from 98 to 98.5 to 99. Where is that, right? Like when you say comfortable crashing, that's obviously like pushing the front, losing the rear. And is that time? Like just more experience? Because if you do crash, you kind of negate the confidence
Yeah, I think honestly, I think I need to crash more. Like I need to feel where that limit is. I need to, I've had a few big moments on the R9, but we've kept it on two wheels, thankfully. But, at the same time, I need to know where that limit is. I wouldn't need to um, be on that all the time. And, yeah, Matt, I believe he's comfortable with, if he crashed the bike, he doesn't care. I feel like I'm going out here, I'm on a brand new bike. Nobody's ever raced this bike. It's out of the box and, new team. And even on the old team, I don't want to go out there and crash. I don't want to total their bike, whatever it is. But like, I don't know. Matt's just so comfortable with going out there, and I don't know if it's his motocross background or, what. But he's just so comfortable with being loose, and I feel like that's what I need to be better at.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. I've always said like how cool it'd be to just take bodywork off a bike and just go crash it.
And that's what I want to do exactly.
Yeah.
And like, no, I mean that's why I want to do all the go-kart track
It's
stuff.
true though. You know what I mean? Like imagine going to like the Dunlop Proving Grounds or whatever, and just taking the bodywork off and just flooding the track, go ride in the rain until you crash.
Yeah,
It
Yeah,
is
just find
interesting
that
when you
limit.
think about it. Like you like riding moto and dirt track and stuff. Like you can lay it down so many times, and like you got a lever, bent
Yeah.
bar, dude. You lay this thing down in the pits, and it's like, dude, couple grand gone.
Yeah, and that's actually why I got the R3 and started doing the go-kart track stuff. I put a stunt cage on it actually to protect it, so I could just go out there and crash it. I watched Top Rack and Anju's, all them. That's what they do. They have the R3s with the stunt cages, and really I can go push on the front until I crash, and then it's a different feeling than being on the big bike, but like it's still you can feel the similarities like when the front starts to go, how you can recover and stuff like that.
You probably work on reaction time.
Yeah.
Like instead of it, whoa, like you can probably work on that reaction of, all right, this sort of feeling, and you
How to react?
It
when
becomes-
how to save it.
Yeah, you do it enough and it becomes muscle memory. So like
Yeah.
I feel that's where Matt's at. Matt's at he can have these front end moments, he can wash the front and it's muscle memory, he saves it. It's no big deal for him. He doesn't even think about it. When I have a moment on the front, I'm like the next three corners, I'm like, okay, a little shaky, a little scared, but that's kind of a lot of the reason I do corner spin and that stuff on the dirt, even with how different it is. We're on a TTR 125 riding around 15 mile an hour in the dirt, and I believe that's helped me out a ton on the asphalt, just being comfortable with the bike being loose, having almost a muscle memory on how to bring it back.
Yeah, I think that for me growing up, that was the hardest part. Until I went and did dirt track, I learned a ton. Even just like you were saying about like the race starts, like because dirt track racing,
Yeah.
if you don't push from not even lap one, just like right off the gate, you're done because it's knockout style. So it's like if you want to even try to keep racing, you gotta get used to banging bars and the first corner and so on and so forth. So I learned a lot from that. What do you think that will take for like? Obviously you can't go out and crash because you got to finish races. How do you think you get there without going through that? Obviously you can keep riding, R3. Do you think it's just a time thing? Just some more time?
No, I mean, honestly, I think I can do it. I think I have the ability to do it. I just think I need to go out and do it more in practice and qualifying and stuff. Like I'll go out and, this season I've been really good about being top 3, top 5 in the first practice, first qualifying, whatever. But, in first practice, and if I know I can be up there, then why am I just riding around doing laps? Go out there and, I can be third all session, but why sit there in third and just do the same lap time over and over? I usually have really consistent laps, but, there's no point to it. Go out there and make a mistake and be 3 seconds off. Make a mistake, run off track, do whatever. But, just push, try and find that limit. And
has the team said anything? Obviously you're supported by Yamaha. You've got one of the only, factory supported rides, and you got a big budget team behind you. Have they ever made you feel like crashing would be an issue? Like have they ever said like, hey, we've only got so many of these parts for this bike or whatever?
No, never. Even with the R9 being such a new motorcycle to the U.S., we've never felt like that. They're amazing, and I feel like that could be one of the biggest the the most harm you could do is telling a rider, hey, don't crash,
Yeah, for sure.
and they're going to go super slow, and they're going to be focused on trying not to crash. They're going to be all super rigid. I feel like somebody told me that I'd go out there and crash first lap. I'm just going to be so stiff and so locked up.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Definitely.
How many times you didn't crash much last year at all? I know you crashed like in the rain race, but that was really it.
Was it Jersey?
I crashed twice in
Atlanta.
the rain. So I crashed Atlanta race 2. I was passing for the lead and slid right over
Oh,
in front
yeah.
of PJ, right
Yep.
in front of you also. And then Jersey in qualifying, I crashed also.
In
That
turn
was it.
1?
Yeah, turn
Yeah, I
1.
remember that.
That was it all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty stellar.
Yeah, and you finished third in the championship.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're onto something. You probably need to crash a little more to find that next step.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't
exactly.
get much better
Barry
than that,
Gilson,
right?
Right.
Barry Gilson used to say, "My boy, go crash it."
Until he didn't.
Yeah.
Until he said James.
I didn't crash that bike that much.
Didn't you write it off at Laguna and then we had to?
You wrote yours off too.
I did write mine off too, but
Dude, we had a bad weekend.
yeah.
Before we get on, we do a segment. Law Tigers is one of our great partners. Law Tigers are America's motorcycle lawyer, and motorcycle isn't something you ever expect, but you need to be prepared. Be prepared in case they do. 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. If you or somebody you know is injured or in a motorcycle accident, always call Law Tigers first. The services are at no cost to the riders, and they fight to get riders taken care of and back on the road. With Law Tigers, you never ride alone. We do a Law Tigers tech tip. I don't know if you've listened to our pod before.
Yeah, I've listened to 1 or 2 of them.
We'll see. We'll see about that. We do a tech tip.
What do you give a kid? I mean, I feel like you're still a kid, so you can probably speak a little bit closer to it. But what do you have as far as a tip from someone who's gone in such a short period of time from riding a little bike to now a 600? What have you learned, or what can you pass along from that experience?
Really starting from the little bikes, moving up. Don't be scared. Work on the little details, and it'll all come to you. Take your time. Don't rush anything. That's when you'll start getting hurt, start making mistakes. So just take your time and let it come to you.
I like that. What do you think about the sense of urgency? Because obviously when you're racing, you don't have the luxury of time really. So how do you go about that in a way where, you're able to still make steps without making big mistakes? What do you attribute that to? Because obviously you've been able to do that.
Yeah, like in the amateur stuff, you don't chase points or anything like that. In the amateur stuff, you can go out and win 20 championships in a year. But, for us, my dad would start me in the pits and he'd say, wait till everybody gets through the first turn, then you can go. And just, challenging yourself and not letting anything come easy. Even if you could do it the easy way, just sit back and make yourself work hard for it.
That's a good one. I like it. I like it.
Law Tigers. Call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS if you or you know somebody that's ever in a motorcycle accident. Thank you, Law Tigers.
Great work, Jimmy.
Boom. You like that?
Yeah, nice.
That's a big plug.
So what else do you do? Like, what's your day-to-day look like otherwise? Like, you have any hobbies? You into anything good? You like video games? You play Call of Duty? Nothing?
Not much.
What?
Not much. No.
Fortnite?
At night, me and my brother will play a little bit of Supercross or MotoGP. But
You do any TikTok dances or anything the kids do these days?
no dances. I will post some of my riding clips, stuff like that. But no, I'm not big into the dances.
So are you big into social media, or or is that's something you struggle with?
I've been trying to be better with social media because that's where all the sponsors are at and everything like that. But I do struggle quite a bit with it. We had some people help us out with my social media a few years ago, and it really grew my following. But I just have to work a lot more on it. I don't post enough or anything like that. But that's all everybody looks for now.
What do you think about social media some of the kids in your age group, have really taken off on social media, and other people say haven't, and you seem to be really focused on just the task at hand of racing, right? And is that something that you look at and go, man, I wish I had a bigger following, or are you just pretty content with what you got?
Obviously you always want more, but the only reason I care about social media is to be in a better position for racing. Like I really wish, if it was my way, we wouldn't have any social media, and whoever was the fastest racer, they would have the best ride, they'd have the best bike, and they'd have the best opportunity.
Do you think that, like, looking at like a Hayden Deegan, is that something that, like, imagine if you had that amount of following and eyeballs, would you be able to handle that kind of pressure, or would you want it?
I don't think it would matter to me either way. The only thing, he makes a bunch of money. He makes all his money off of it, and I mean, I'm sure he makes, pretty close to his Yamaha contract from social media. And other than that, who cares if somebody's watching me? I just want to go race my motorcycle. I want to go be the best one at it.
That's cool. You seem super humble with it. I think it's really interesting in your age group, because you've come up with so much social media, whereas we're quite older when we had social media.
Yeah, James is still trying to get it figured out.
Yeah.
Hey, I am too. I'm terrible with it.
That's why we hired Billy back there.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, man. I got a couple millies in there.
This guy, every time I'm with him, he's like talking about the new reel trends and
No, I'm not.
the music, the dances.
I don't do
You're
dance.
into the dances.
No, I don't even have TikTok. I can't even.
You got
do
TikTok?
I do.
Yeah?
I do.
It.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet you do.
No.
What was I gonna ask?
Do you like Hayden? Like, do you like that style, or are you like?
No, I'm not a big fan of that style. Just all the flashy stuff. I feel like it's a lot, and I know a lot of it's for show, but there's a lot of attitude and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of it at all.
I could imagine. Could you imagine he walked up here with a $40,000 chain, Blake Davis?
just Blake.
That'd be funny though.
What's your favorite track on the calendar you like going to? Now you're on a big bike, 'cause I know it changes on the bikes you're on for sure, right?
Yeah, I used to like Pittsburgh a lot. Unfortunately they took that off the calendar, but I always went really good there. Laguna's one of my favorite, and Atlanta's one of my favorites for sure. Jersey, I've done the best there in the past. I've won, I believe 4 races there now. And I've only won, I think 7 or 8 MotoAmerica races ever, and I've won 4 of them there. So, I definitely have a good track record there, but it's just not one of my favorite layouts. I enjoy, the elevation and some of the faster corners on the other tracks.
Was it tough with the speed difference from the R7 getting on the 600 last year? Did it take you any time to get used to the differential in speed?
Yeah, really just like at Atlanta was the biggest for me, where there's so many switchbacks, and like I said before, you're 5 feet off in one turn, then you're 10 feet off in the next. And
But the straightaway speed, you didn't really.
No, I mean, I raced Daytona. I raced the 200 in 2023, the same year that I did my second year of twins. And I rode 600s, on and off, amateur stuff, endurance stuff. And so, the speed difference on the straightaways wasn't anything.
Do you ever get tired on the 600 with the longer races? Like I know you don't get arm pump, you said, but like, do you ever get fatigued, like with at all?
No, not really. Barber this year, I struggled a little bit because I'd actually, while training on my R3, I had a crash and hit a wall pretty hard at Bushnell and messed up my hip and did some nerve damage down it. And then I was also sick that weekend. And so it was just, 2 things. So towards the end of that race, I definitely started fading back. And, it was a little embarrassing. That's the first time I've faded because of anything physical. And I was like, nah, that can't happen again, So, but no, I mean, other than that, I feel great. I remember a Coda last year. It was pretty hot. And I did get a little bit gassed towards the end of that one and kind of got lucky. PJ had a little bit of an incident in race 2, so I was able to get 2 podiums that weekend. But, I don't think anything too crazy has ever happened.
What about, we talked about a tip for kind of the younger kids. Obviously, you grew up with like a generation of kids that are racing. A lot of those kids are still in either Twins Cup or doing other things, right? Is it a weird feeling to kind of be where you're at now in such a short period of time, where like those are the kids you kind of grew up with and were battling with, and now you're kind of on a whole different level really compared to anyone else your age other than Kayla, right? Is that weird for you to kind of, or have they made you feel any way differently?
No, not really. You know, I get along with pretty much whoever. You know, I don't hang out with some of the kids in the paddock because they're just a little crazy, you know, running around the paddock and stuff like that. But no, I mean, Tyler Scott, me and him, when I was racing the RS 125, he had an NSF 250, and we went to, I think, for probably 2 years straight, all the same Weir races, and every race we would throw down, you know, be, you know, swapping paint and everything like that. So it's kind of cool seeing that he's done a kind of similar thing to me. You know, he worked up through MotoAmerica a little bit. He did a lot more of the GP stuff. He went overseas for it, but you know, it was cool growing up with Tyler.
Yeah, what was that like? Because I forget that you guys are kind of the similar age, and you now come back in the same series, and you guys are now racing again. What's that like stepping in? He's had a couple years before you on the 600, and now you're battling. You know, did that give you confidence to know, like, hey, I was there, and like, you know what I mean? And he was at the front before you came in, and like, oh, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Or
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that with him, and also Anthony Mazziato. I was on Maz's endurance team the year he was on the Northeast Cycle R6.
yeah,
And you know, being able to match up our times and be like, okay, you know, I'm pretty close to him. Or, you know, I believe there's a few races where I was a little bit faster than him, and I was like, okay, so I know I can at least be, you know, top 10. And just kind of looking at it like that gave me a lot of confidence.
Did you guys ever consider the Rookies Cup route? I know that's a big part of it. Did you ever try out?
No, we never really did anything like that. I never really went overseas. I actually did my first race overseas this past November, and you know, it was nothing crazy. A smaller race didn't really mean anything, but
was it the R3 thing?
yeah, I was on the R7,
Okay.
and then yeah, they had the R3 class also. But no, I never really did anything over there.
Where'd you do it at? Jerez?
Jerez.
How was it? Like, how was the experience of being on that sort of track? And
The experience was awesome. Racing with some of we were, you know, the R3 kids were racing against the World Supersport 300 champion. I was racing against the ESBK Supersport 600 champion. And, you know, racing against some of the best in the world or in, you know, in Europe was really cool. And being able to see how they race, how they qualify, their mentality for it was really cool. But we just struggled in the races a lot. Race 1, I got taken out in the first turn on the first lap. Just another rider crashed in front of me and slid into me. And then race 2, it rained, and I just went slow in the rain. So,
is that something that being over there and doing that coming from the, because you said it was last year?
yes.
So it's coming from the 600 back to an R7.
Yeah.
I know I struggled when I tried to ride the R7 at certain tracks with chatter and just like it just reacts different. Was it difficult to jump back to that motorcycle?
A little bit, but honestly, like being able to be on a track like that where the asphalt was so perfect and you know, there was no flaws in the track at all. You know, the paint was so grippy and you know, you could ride over inside curves wherever you wanted. Like it was just, I think I was so amazed by the track. You know, the bike was kind of the last thing on my mind. We were on stock forks, stock triples, stock shock. When, you know, our R7s had R1M forks, you know, aftermarket triples, links, shock, everything we could, you know, want.
Speaking of that, do you think that's better or worse for our series? You know, jumping from, right, you essentially we have mini Superbike twins. Is that teaching kids the wrong thing? Like, should we be on more of a stock bikes for Twins Cup?
If everybody could be on the same bike or a very similar bike, I think it would be amazing to be on the Superbike build. But you know, also I know that costs a lot of money. You know, not everybody can be on that, you know, even anything close to that. Honestly, like I believe the Vance and Hines bike, the N2 bike, and then the Team ESO. Other than that, you know, there was no R7 that was, you know, half as built as ours were. And, you know, I think it's hard to compete. But I believe I like when everybody kind of has the same shot at it and it comes down to talent. So being on a stock bike would be really cool to see.
So you think, would it have been harder for you to go from Twins Cup to Super Sport if the bike was stock, or you think it wouldn't have been much different? Like having ridden the stock one, you kind of know what it's like now.
I think the first year I would have struggled a lot more. Daytona, when I won my first race, really I would go back and watch that race, and it's embarrassing. I was super slow through all the turns, but I was the lightest rider on the fastest bike, and was able to get a win just because of that. But the second season, I honestly think it would have been an advantage to me. I was racing against some of the 660s, and they were allowed to do a lot more motor work, and they handled really well. And so I think if everybody was on a similar bike, it would have been even more of an advantage to me.
So you like the more spec? You think like a spec series or something like that's advantageous for the sport?
Yeah, I think something like that would be really cool. Or having like, maybe even going back to a stock 600 class like they used to have. I believe it was the beginning of MotoAmerica or maybe the end of AMA.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we grew up on, but we were talking about that yesterday. It's just tough because,
Entries.
The Panigale is stock, right? But you still got to do the
Yeah.
whole next gen kit. It's not cheap anymore.
Right,
It's
right.
Yeah,
like,
that too.
you're starting out with like a $40,000 bike just from having to do all
that's
the
true.
cost of the bike and
I
whatever.
guess that
so.
really depends what happens with if you take 15 guys out of Superbike, where do they go?
Yeah.
Right, and then you put 15 into now Super Next Gen
Yeah.
Super Sport. You could have a stock class that's
I mean,
a little bit more.
I think that makes then Twins Cup a little more appealing.
Yeah.
But it still goes back
It's
to what
still
you were saying.
expensive,
It's
though.
expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I mean, dude, Super Sport bikes, they got to be 50, 60 grand
Yep.
to build them.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
they
for
can't
sure.
be. They can't be much. It's not. I mean,
Which everything's expensive now. What are those?
Yeah.
You might know the Kramers are like 30 grand or something.
yeah. So, do you like the Talent Cup thing? Is that something that you?
Wished you had maybe or something like that.
I think it's really cool. I just think it's kind of weird how all of MotoAmerica's on a production chassis, and then you have those GP chassis, and it's kind of like,
But I feel like they're trying to make Americans here to go, not to go up their pipe with the Talent Cup.
And
At least giving them an option.
yeah, I think it's definitely an option, but it's so hard to make it in the GP.
I know.
Those kids in Spain grow up riding every day. They have 10 go-kart tracks within an hour of their house, and so many tracks. Like, honestly, to get in on a, even a Moto3 ride or a Moto2 ride is so insane, so hard to do. And, I know we've seen Joe do it, and I believe Max Toss doing really good in the European Championship, and Rossi Moore also. But, like, Rossi Moore and Max Toth, they've been online school their whole life, and they ride every day, and, it's just they eat, sleep, breathe motorcycles. And, I feel like you have to be that way from the time you're 4 years old to have any shot at being in anything like that.
Did you see Rossi Moore just break the track record at Aspar Circuit?
Yes.
Is that
by like 2 seconds?
But
I didn't really get that though.
yeah, so but is it on because he's on a twin or because or is it is it the outright record? Like, how could he go much faster than Marquez on that stock Ducati?
I don't really understand it.
Okay.
I believe Rossi was on the RSV4, and Mark was on a stock V2.
Oh.
But, I mean, still 2 seconds faster than Mark, and, it was only a minute and then a few seconds lap time. So,
RSV4 is it Aprilia V4?
Stock 1000 bike. Yeah.
yeah.
That track looks tight.
A stock street bike.
And
too.
that's what I was saying. Like, on a small track, being 2 seconds faster than a super sport bike is still,
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
a lot. So,
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
and I
that's
was kind of blown away with it.
that
But
is interesting.
you
What was the decision on not doing the Rookies Cup? Because I know pretty much everyone tries for just to even see where you kind of stack up, right?
yeah, we'd heard a few up and down things about it, just about how they do the picks, and, like, we had seen, let's say we'd watched a group of Americans go over there, and we were watching the times throughout the weekend, and, we're seeing, oh, this is the fastest person we have over there right now, and then they would get eliminated, and the next day our next fast person eliminated, and then it came down, our slowest rider got picked, and, we went out there and pretty much America embarrassed themselves showing not our fastest rider.
Sure.
And so and then we've heard all the things about like, oh, well, they'll leave Red Bulls out, and if you grab one, then, they see that you're not fully committed to your diet and stuff like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but at the same time, I'm a 12-year-old kid, and, I want to have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of freedom, and I do regret some of that now. Like I said, those Moto3, Moto2 kids, like, they've been training like they're going into the military since they were 4, like it's all they do. And I do kind of wish I did a little bit more of that, but at the same time,
Meaning like taking it more seriously when you were young?
yes. Like, from the time I was 6 to the time I was 12, taking it more serious, I think would have benefited me quite a bit.
It's kind of crazy to hear that after talking with Jake Jake's literally was like, I wish I kind of started when I was 8 or 9, because he was like what you're saying, so deep into it, he kind of got burnt out.
Really?
Yeah, when he was 19 and he got a factory Superbike ride. And so it's interesting to hear the opposite, right? And it's not like you didn't have enough like laps, right?
No,
It sounds
yeah,
like you're cutting enough laps, and but that's crazy to hear, like, timing wise, that you're like, if I had 2 more years,
You're 18 and already wishing you started earlier.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, and like I had all the opportunity to do it. Everything, I could have needed or could have wanted to do it, I could have. But when you're 6 years old, you're not thinking about, oh, I shouldn't eat this candy bar, So like, it's just so much more serious over there, and everybody's pretty much raising their child since they're a kid to be a MotoGP racer, and so it's just hard to compete with that.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I can see it from both sides. I mean, I guess we'll talk to you in 10 years and see where you're at and see what you've done and see how you feel about it. Because, you may or may not feel differently. Haven't had like a normal childhood. There's something to be said for that too. You only get one shot at that, and that's kind of what Jake was saying. He was riding every day. It was boot camp more or less for him. Granted, he went to public school and so on and so forth, but he was burnt out. And it's easy to get there, I think. You know what I mean? Especially when the times are good. Like, relatively speaking, you're having a good time right now, right? So there's always 20/20 or 50/50 or whatever you say on that. But hindsight, yeah. There's always hindsight.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, when we were growing up, we were winning a lot too, and doing, on the podium. You just never think it ends, right? You never think you're gonna have a bad year, right? Because you're like, well, I'm here. Like, these are the people, and just, things happen, right? Life changes, but it's great to see that you're on such a trajectory in that, and that you're still, I mean, you're young, like with Cody Kopp, and to see you kids like so hungry, it's like refreshing.
We were talking about the media thing before. Has Yamaha signed you up for like any media training? Have you done anything like that?
So I have been working on getting in on something like that. Just started talking about it. Honestly, at the end of last year, probably, because I get a hard time for being too much like a robot, not showing. I get up on podium and I just smile, whole whatever, and I went and did a commercial for Yamaha, and the media people were there, and they were like, you're so hard to get any pictures of or do any media for, because we get the same thing every time. You stand up there and you smile, and you do the exact thing, but, stop being a robot, go out, show some emotion, show what's going on. And that's like you were talking about Hayden Deegan earlier, you love him or you hate him. He has the attention because he's not a robot, because he has a personality. So, I do definitely think I need to work on some of that.
It's funny though, because that's like the polar opposite of when we were your age racing.
It was like
you had to be a robot. Because if you didn't, you're doing something wrong, you might get in trouble. They wanted you to, get up there, thank your sponsors, the same template every time. And you kind of see it with Supercross, like the traditional old school guys, and you got the new guys like Deegan and Cole Davies, right? Is his name Cole Davies?
Yeah, Cole Davies. I mean, Cole Davies is kind of a robot, but
he's got some personality there.
They're all trying Juju and whatnot, but it is interesting because like our Jordan days, it was.
Yeah, I mean, granted. Little different stuff. Couldn't post any pictures with beer or anything like that when we were age, but
no, for real. I mean, dude, it was strict, but it was like straight and narrow.
Yeah, and like I'm not saying I want to get up there and I saw a few Supercross interviews where they got up there and they're like, "Oh, suck it" or whatever. But I don't want to.
Who's that?
I don't want to have that kind of personality, but having something good that I can interact with the fans and not just be like, "Oh, here's another robot that says the same 5 things, thanks his sponsors and gets on with his day,
Yeah, I think that's part of growing up a little bit too, is just get to be comfortable in your own skin in front of people, the way
Right.
you are behind closed doors. I think that's what Hayden's so good at, is he's grown up with a camera on him. So like he even so much so that he's probably acting a lot of the time, right? But he's grown up in front of the camera, so he's comfortable with just being kind of what he thinks is
Whoever, whatever he wants to
whatever
be.
he wants to be.
And
Right.
he's comfortable with what goes out. He knows if he says it, it's going viral,
Yeah.
right? So like whatever he says is kind of, where it's tough when you're right. Ooh, should I have said that?
Yeah.
But
I think it's also, like you were saying before about social media, like, you really only give a shit about it because of the fact that it could help you along with sponsors and whatnot.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing with that stuff, like personality wise, just letting yourself be you. Like I know James, something that's like one of his big strengths through our growing up, right? Like I was a little more quiet, reserved, but James could talk to a wall and usually make a business deal out of it,
Right. No, for sure.
But I had to learn that, and honestly coaching was a big part of that. Like helped a lot, just because you kind of have to like adapt to different people, and you meet a lot of different people, and you got to have conversation and be comfortable holding conversation, which I don't think is a problem for you. I think it's, just something you learn over time, as far as being a little bit more confident in who you are and not really giving a shit if people, see that or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Which is tough. It's tough.
it's not tough for me.
It's not tough for you, Jimmy.
It's not. It's pretty easy.
You went the opposite route though. You felt like you kind of had to reel it back in at a certain point, right?
A lot of it, I had people like, early in my career where I would have to show a lot of my captions and not comment on things, and not, because I was just so, like I am today, right? Like I was so outgoing, right? Like I would all, the level of energy and whatnot, and being I guess, very outgoing was very easy for me. And, I had to tone it in when we were racing and with Jordan and stuff like that, so that it was in the mold and stuff like that. And only in recent years is really when I was really kind of let the guard down and kind of became more raw and just who I am, and, just cool with it. But yeah, it's that whole side of things is quite interesting, the way the times are now and how desensitized everybody is to social media and to swearing and just like all of it, like naked girls on Instagram, like that was but like you look at it all
only
of
on
it.
your algorithm, Jimmy.
No, dude, it's all mountain biking. But just like the whole thing is crazy now, that you're like, dude, 10 years ago you would never see that. You couldn't even post it. It'd be banned.
Yeah.
And it's like
You lose your ride.
everything's so like okay now.
Yeah.
It's weird. But
It is really weird.
going back to Strack Racing, right? So you're now with Strack Racing, massive outfit. You have two crew chiefs, right? Kyle has worked with you a ton during your career and helped you. He stepped in at Barber for the first round.
Yep.
But you have Chavi Flores as your crew chief. Now, what's that dynamic like? I mean, working with Kyle, somebody you've worked with, I didn't know him as a crew chief, but he ran his own team, sound guy. What's the dynamic been like working with him and then having to switch to, I guess, your real crew chief, Chavi, which I didn't even know he was a crew chief role at all. So,
Yeah, so with both of them, I didn't know how good they were going to be. Kyle was just a fill-in for me,
yeah.
but I've worked with Kyle as a rider coach for a long time, and I trust him. I talked to my old crew chief, Shiloh, that actually now works with him with Tyler. I talked to her about it, and I was like, what do you think about Kyle being my crew chief? Obviously you've worked with him a lot, being my rider coach. They would work together, look at data and stuff like that. And she was like, I think it's going to be a great idea. And so, he really got the R9 really dialed in at Barber, and we found a good base setup. And then Chavi coming in for Atlanta, he brought a lot of notes from overseas, from some pretty good teams over there, that are also on the R9, and it's been amazing for us, having a good base setup already for our kind of tracks, and then having that setup that they've been working on for a lot longer than any of us have ever, before we even knew the R9 was coming out, they knew what setup they were going to run at what track,
Yeah.
So, having all that help has been amazing. And I didn't know Chavi as a crew chief either. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, he came in and just automatically got to work. Super, he seemed super excited to be working with us and to kind of he's starting a new part of his career also. He's always been a rider, and now he's taken a little bit of a step back from riding and more to, the off-track stuff. He had a son, and he's kind of doing, finding his new way of living now. And so it's been really nice to have him in our corner.
What's it like having two race winners as your two crew chiefs? Both of them have been race winners. Chavi's recent championship is in Super Sport, right? So like he's probably the closest to knowing what it takes to win a championship. What's that dynamic like, and can you see it? I mean, they probably know. I mean, they know what it takes to win. Also, they know what it takes and how bad you want it because they were there. What's that like then from a traditional crew chief, and can you feel that?
Yeah, he definitely has this, like, regular crew chief. You talk to him, and they're like, okay, well, if you look at this, like, maybe you can try this. Well, Chavi, Chavi, he's wired different, honestly. Like, he can listen to your bike for half a lap and be like, okay, you're losing a tenth here and a tenth there just from the noise of your bike.
What?
And, like, it's insane how good he is. And, just being able to watch some of that stuff, and, like, he sits down, turns on his computer, and then immediately calls me over, okay, here, you're losing time here, here, here. And then he'll overlay Matt's data, and it's like, yeah, I lose time there, there, and there, And so, like, just, he knows exactly what needs to be done. Like you said, he knows how to win a championship, and he knows exactly how to go fast around a racetrack, and he can tell me where I'm going wrong, how much time I'm losing without even, needing any tools. He can go close his eyes and listen in a corner and tell me I'm losing a 10.
That's impressive.
Are they, like Kyle and Chavi, are they like making spring changes, like we think we need to go to like a 9.5 or something like that, or do you have a suspension guy that's looking at more of like that true technical stuff?
I do have a suspension guy also, but now it's kind of everybody kind of works together a little bit. So my data guy will be like, oh, well, he said there's not enough engine braking here, and we're getting close to the bottom of the fork. Maybe y'all should think about something. Then they bring the suspension guy in, and he's like, okay, well, if we're going to be braking a little bit harder, because we're already going to be going faster next session, we're going to be braking harder, we're adding more engine braking, and what do you think about maybe we add engine braking and change the geometry to this and change the spring to that? And they all kind of work together and bounce ideas off of each other to find a good setup for my bike.
And how do you feel like you are at your age, being so young, communicating that stuff? Like, do you feel like you're pretty good? Because I know for me, at least, like looking back when I was your age racing, like I don't even remember having those conversations, honestly, about setting up the bike and that kind of stuff. Like, we had a suspension guy and a data guy, and they kind of like, from my memory, it was like just get on and ride it and, say what didn't work, but I wasn't like involved in the conversations. Like, are you pretty deep in that stuff?
Yes and no. I try and not go too deep into it, and, I've tied knots around myself trying to go too deep into it, and, so I try and just come off the bike, tell them, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I feel. And then Chavi's really good at explaining, hey, this is what we're changing. This is why we're changing it. This is how the bike will react because we changed it. And so I can think about it as much as I want to. I can be like, okay, that makes sense. And even if I don't think it makes sense, I'm gonna go out there and ride as fast as I can. They know what they're doing. I don't know. I could go out there and, oh, I'm gonna try and add 2 rounds of preload and we'll see what happens. Like, I don't know anything about what I'm doing. So I just go out there and trust them. Know that they're gonna have the best bike for me.
It's like, I guess the word is you sound a lot older than your age, right? Like, it's very high level stuff that you're able to communicate, and the way that you're able to say, hey, it sounds like you understand data quite a bit. And
Yeah, I mean, I can read most of the data, and I got a lot of help from that at N2, but also, you know, I I feel like I have a decent feel of the bike, and I can kind of tell you what's going on with it.
And did somebody, was Kyle, or did they try to teach you that at a young age to understand data?
Yeah, definitely. Over at N2, with my old crew chief Shiloh, her and Kyle really pushed me to try and understand it, and that way I could really work on giving good feedback. And a big thing that I've always been told is you give feedback, but you don't give. I'm trying to remember how she used to say it, but I don't diagnose the problem. I tell them what's wrong with the bike, and it's their job to fix it. So
I think that's pretty crucial, and the fact that at 18 years old that you understand data as strong as you do, and the whole workings of a bike is pretty crucial. You just sound quite old for your age.
What about the addition this year for Super Sport? You've got links, clamps, all that kind of stuff you can play with. Is that hard for you to have that like added variable kind of thrown at you? I know Twins Cup you had that, but you were probably a little bit younger in terms of actually thinking about that stuff, right?
Well, no. So actually, Twins is kind of where I learned it, and kind of why it's a little bit easier for me, because we did have when I was 15 when I first got on the Twin, and we were working. The biggest thing on that bike was the adjustments and the triples, and then the link, and we had some frame braces, and working on some different stuff on the Twin. That was kind of what made the biggest difference for us.
You had frame braces in your Twin?
Yeah, right down beside the rear set, we could switch it out, and I actually didn't like them. I believe Hayden ran them to stiffen up the frame, but
That's
I
all
didn't
I
like
needed,
it.
dude.
But yeah, and just learning all that off the Twin, getting onto the R9 this year, it's kind of like I know how the bike can react, and I know also we wasted a lot of time playing around too much with the front end. It's like we need to find a good setup and just stop. Like, the bike feels good, the front end feels good. Why are we pushing? If I'm half a second faster than everybody else on the track and into, on tip in this corner, then why are we still chasing it? So knowing when to quit, knowing we have time on everybody else, start working on something new.
Do you feel mentally tired after like a weekend usually? I know you said physically you don't, but mentally, does it ever get to you?
Yes and no. Like I said, I've been super annoyed and pissed off that I finished third behind the same two guys for 2 seasons in a row now.
But is it like, what is you pissed off? Like, you sound like you're pretty like
yeah, no, I mean, it's just like
you throwing stuff.
No,
You ever dent the gas tank?
no, not yet, not yet. But I mean, another third place might do it for me.
Sorry, Strag, there's a windscreen gone.
Yeah, right. No, but no, I mean, it's just like we were talking about it. I had a pretty rough race in Atlanta in the mixed conditions, and I got in, and Matt's like, "Oh, it's okay. I struggled too. No big deal. Tomorrow we're gonna be right back up there." Well, yeah, but you still finished in front of me. Like it's just the same thing over and over. And when those two guys keep finishing in front of you, it's like something needs to change. And if I'm not, I was happy with race 2, I believe it was at Atlanta. I was a lot closer to Matt and a lot closer to PJ. I finished just a few tenths behind PJ, and it's like, okay, at least there's progress. At least I'm not 10 seconds behind now. Maybe it's only 5 from Matt, which is still a ton, but like we're closer at least. So seeing progress is helping a lot.
And who's helping you like look at it bigger picture, right? Because like you could probably get down to a rat hole of, every weekend you're saying you finished right behind them or, off the back of them. Like who's looking bigger picture? Is that Kyle that's helping you look like, hey, we found a second over race distance this weekend. Like we are getting closer, or is that just what you've been able to do, with your sort of mental?
Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of tells me the same thing. They're like, oh, well, they're Superbike guys, they're this, they're that. We're on the same bike. Me and Matt are riding the same exact motorcycle. He shouldn't be finishing race 5 seconds in front of me. That's the bottom line. But, at the same time, I've kind of figured out myself, like, if I keep finishing third and I can't see progress, I need to see that at least I'm not going backwards, you know. So I'm sure there's I'm sure somebody taught me along the way to look at it a different, you know, from a different perspective, but I'm not really sure where that came from.
Do you think that like it's gonna just click? Like, I mean, a lot of people say like, hey, you keep putting up opportunities, you keep there. Like, you know, it's some of it is just a timing thing, right? Like, it's gonna click. You're gonna find it. You can't you can't be third so many times and not find the opportunity, right? Like, it's happened in the past. Like, you know, I know I don't know. It just feels.
I don't really think there's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna show up to Laguna and I'm gonna be, you know, running right same times as them or anything like that. You know, I don't think it's gonna be a overnight anything, but I do feel like there's some stuff I can do even here at this round to make it, you know, look a lot closer. You know, I'm sure we all have the same plan going into some races. This rider's, you know, 7/10 a lap faster than me. I have to pass him every corner. I cannot let him get out front. And I feel like, you know, just being able to do something like that, Atlanta's really tough. Just because if you don't make a pass at the S's, then, you know, it can ruin your whole race. And that's kind of how it went for me. I was third going into the S's, and then Matt had gotten a gap. And so, you know, there's some things that can make it look better for me, but I just need to, in the end, go faster.
That leads me into our next segment, Yuasa battery, recharge your battery segment. When you go home after these weekends, you said you go to a chiropractor, you got a trainer and whatnot. Do you do any kind of recovery to recharge your batteries after a long weekend?
No, just a lot of stretches, a lot of rolling out, and then going to my trainer, and she does, I guess you could say kind of a recovery workout, which is,
You don't have to give away any secrets.
yeah, no, it's kind of just like, you know, more of stretching than it is a workout. And so just different stuff like that. Try and eat as good as I can for the first day back, you know, get myself refueled for a good week. You know, I can't really get back. And, you know, I feel like if I sit around the first day that I'm back, then I'm going to be lazy for the rest of the week. I just want to lay on the couch, you know, all the time. So, you know, the first day back, getting going, getting back into the groove is big for me.
Do you have any like guilty pleasures? Anything that you like to do that you shouldn't do? You go out and win both races this weekend. What are you going home and doing on Monday?
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. I am a little bit of a Chick-fil-A guy. So, like, you know,
yeah, brother.
I'm always, you know, if I'm in town, I'm always driving by Chick-fil-A, taking an eye at it for sure. So,
what's your meal?
well, now I've started going a little bit healthier, getting their Southwest salad. But no, number one, you know, just chicken sandwich with some fries. That'll do it for me.
I love it.
Well, that's our Yuasa Recharge Your Battery segment. Yuasa Battery setting the standard for power sports batteries since 1979. Each and every day it starts with us. Visit yuasabatteries.com to find the battery for your machine or to find your local Yuasa battery retailer. Big shout out to the guys at Yuasa Batteries. We appreciate the support. What else you...
Well, I want to know, you got a Superbike, you know, that team sat right next to you. Is there any, like, Pecco, when he did the Moto2, was able to jump on the MotoGP bike. Have you ridden the Superbike yet? Have they enticed, hey, do you want to come try it, ride it? Like, is there any of that? Do you want to?
Did you put it in your contract?
I would love to.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I would love to, but no, I haven't gotten a chance. You know, I've sat out on it, and you know, the things, they just look so mean. You know, we were talking about the rumors earlier. You know, there may not be a lot of people or a lot of Superbikes around here soon, so I would like to get out on the track. You know, just the way you watch them. I was watching a video of Bobby the other day coming out of the last turn at Barber, and like, he's straight up and down at half track and then just drifts all the way across the track. And like, seeing that's nothing we'll ever get on a super sport bike. You know, like, we can get the thing running off the edge of the tire and get it spinning up, but like, they're straight up and down just sliding across the track, and you know, being able to do something like that would be insane.
I wonder, like, how do you get on one?
I gotta talk to Richard, man. Yeah. Gotta get in with Richard, and you know, I think he's the only one that you know, it's hard to get him to like you, but.
What is that like working with, right? Because you got a Yamaha deal, you're sponsored, your team's partner with Attack. What's that like? do you have much involvement with Richard? Do you go under the factory tent much, or are you guys?
No, it's pretty. I mean, we tested with them throughout the off season. We did two or three tests with them throughout the off season, and at the test it was definitely a lot more friendly. You know, a lot more. You know, we were hanging out under their tent, whatever, stuff like that. But on a race weekend, everybody's working. You know, I don't want to bother anybody. I stay in my tent most of the weekend. They stay in their tent. You know, it's a sponsorship for us, and I feel like it just stays like that most of the time.
Do you have anybody that helps you like a management side? Is your dad kind of the one doing the deals with you, or is there anybody kind of looking out for you on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, I've actually just started looking into that stuff, and you know, I used to have somebody that helped me out with it a little bit, but no, I mean, it's always just been my parents helping me out. And yeah, I've been going around actually asking a lot of different riders same question. You know, do you have management? Do you do it yourself? How do you do it? Because I am looking into some stuff like that right now. So what'd y'all do?
I think James had a manager. I always had my uncle who actually runs the Rahal team. Was kind of a manager, and when I was younger, at least when I was more your age, he kind of set everything up, and then for me, it got to a certain point where I had to kind of start doing. I stopped racing, and I had to come back. And if I wanted to come back, I had to figure it out myself. And now I manage, you know, all my own deals and all that kind of stuff, which you definitely have to learn, you know, how to get creative and, you know, just network and that kind of thing. James can probably speak a little bit more to actually having a manager, because I know he's had some over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had only one actually. You know, my dad was in sales and marketing, so I learned at a very young age of, you know, sales and marketing and how to, you know, negotiate deals and things of that nature, whether I was good at them or not. You know, I just understood it. But yeah, it was always difficult for me. You know, I really struggled with the manager because I always struggled, you know, passing the plate and feeling like it was getting done. I had a manager in BSB and it didn't work out well for me. I kind of couldn't wait and I was freaking out because I just wasn't hearing anything. And yeah, I never did, but one of my best friends, Bradley Smith, has always had a manager, and he's worked with the Wasp Group for a long time. And, you know, he's probably somebody to ask. And I know he is without a doubt adamant that, you know, if you're going overseas, you have to have some sort of management looking after you. And if they're a good manager, they'll make up the 15% or whatever it is fee that they're going to charge. And that if you're doing your job, then that fee's just wiped away, and it's nice to have. You know, I know specifically for him that they've been in his corner and they've helped him through some stuff that, you know, versus me doing all my own deals, I probably left some stuff on the table of just knowing, like, what's your real net worth, right? And being at the negotiated table and having a middleman to where they can kind of block things to where it's not just you and you got to feel like if I don't say yes now, I'm never going to get it.
Yeah, right.
I think it's something advantageous for young up and coming kids to find somebody good in the right way and to find somebody who's really behind you. But a lot of them are slimy. It's a slimy business, and they care a lot about money. And when you're not doing well, they don't really give a fuck about you. So for me, you got to always have your hand on the football, no matter what. And I think if that's one piece of advice, I don't care if you have a management or not, if you're not looking at your own books and looking at your own deals, somebody's stealing from you, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably hard to give up control, you know, and I think the hardest part in the U.S. is really not a need for a manager for most people.
Right.
You know what I mean? To give up 15% of nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you it's a lot of phone calls. Like for me to go to BSB and to do that whole deal, it's a lot of phone calls. Mm-hmm. And to put that stress on, you learn a lot and you get to lay the land. But, you know, it's team managers to riders versus team managers to managers. That phone call is so much different. You know what I mean? So and just to have somebody in your corner always kind of chirping the narrative and having somebody I think it's advantageous.
Yeah, I think the hardest part about not is just that the difficult conversations are a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
right. Because it's like you don't want to, you know, if it comes down to like you're looking for just a little bit more money on something or whatever the case is, like to have that conversation and put pressure on a relationship because you're fighting for yourself, you know, unless somebody who really respects the fact that you're willing to fight for yourself, it can kind of feel weird.
Then you have to show up to the next race weekend, looking at the team manager you just asked more money from, and like.
Yeah, and regardless of what it is, if it's your helmet, the helmet company you're wearing, or whatever the case is, those tough conversations are tough when you're doing it for yourself, because you still gotta have that like fun part of the relationship. You have to maintain that. And,
I think in the just protection,
Yeah.
like, in the protection clauses and all of that, even just speaking with Bradley, over the years, like there's a lot of things that it's tough to bring up when you have a contract that looks 95% good, but there's like this one thing and you're like, do I roll the dice or do I make a
if
stink?
I bring it up, are they gonna just pull it back away?
Right.
But like having somebody in your corner, like, dude, that's not cool, or that's not right. That's not the way we do things. And, having him to even bounce off, like I bounced a lot of my contract stuff off Bradley, and to have that as a resource. So I think having somebody that has understood contracts, that has been an ex-pro or has looked at, some sort of high level contract from a factory and understands, the lay of the land and what your worth is, right? Because like being a young kid coming up now, like the numbers change, right? From being an older dog, right? Like from Hayes to where you're at, I'm sure the numbers have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So having somebody that knows that lay of the land and knows what those numbers should be and knows, and then I would say my final piece is like, don't get lost in what everybody else makes.
Put it in crypto.
No, but like if you go in and like, hey, this is what I feel like I'm worth, and you get it, and then you hear Deegan's making triple, be like, whatever, this is what I wanted, this is what I got, I'm comfortable with that. Like, I think you could always do that whole like, oh man, I wish I got more, but we all do.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like you said you've been making a little bit of money the last few years racing. Have you done anything fun with that? You buy yourself a car or anything?
No, I mean I got a little beater car. I have a little 325 I drive around, but
What's a 325 for people that don't know?
it's a BMW, a little sedan. But then other than that, I bought a van that I built out so I could go train out of it. And that's pretty much it.
You still live at home, obviously, and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
I
trying to
do.
move out anytime soon?
Yes, I am. But no, I mean it's the same thing. Like I want to go train every weekend, but I, no way I'm moving out if I'm going and spending, $2,000 on tires every weekend.
Yeah.
Or every week. So.
Do your parents help you out with that kind of thing, like with money and what to do with it and kind of put it away or invest it or whatever the case is?
Yeah, definitely. And I've just started. I started taking classes on investing into the stock market, and I'm still really new to it and doing really simple stuff with it. But I am happy to at least be doing something useful with my money.
That's great news to hear. We hear a lot of kids and a lot of people, even our, us, that just throw away the money that you do make. And, it's one of the things we talk all the time. Like when we won our championships and made okay money, that we didn't do enough with it. So to hear that you're even looking into it and making those steps from somebody who's 33 years old, it's very advantageous to just put somewhere.
Yeah, put it away.
Because you'll be 30 in a blink of an eye, and that money will have made a lot of money. So
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Like when we were, at least, James is a couple years older than me, but when I was your age, we were both doing pretty good, relatively speaking, probably similar boat to where you're at, and we didn't think it was gonna ever end.
we rode it till it fucking died.
Till the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, like 2012, like 2013, I won the championship. It was like if I just put like half of that money into like the S&P 500.
Yeah,
It'd be,
exactly.
Like, quadrupled now.
I literally
10 times.
said the same thing. If I put just my championship, bonus in Amazon, I'd be a millionaire right now. So, like, you live and you learn. But, it's great to hear.
What do you do? What are your hobbies otherwise? Like, do you have anything?
Hey, are you chasing girls or what?
Yeah, ladies, music. Like, what do you?
No, I mean, other than training, I like, mountain biking. I do it a lot as a hobby too. Not as, I do it for training, but also just because I love it. I go out and, even build little jumps and stuff. We have 7 acres, but it's woods just back to ourselves. So, build little jumps and stuff like that. But, I mean, other than school, mountain bike, go to my trainer, there's not much else I do.
You like, you watch Theo Vaughn?
A little bit, a little bit.
We've been watching a lot of Theo Vaughn upstairs. Been pretty good, pretty good.
Do you rewatch like races and stuff like that, or do you?
Yeah, all the
Are you-
time.
yeah.
All the time. We're big in MotoGP, so like I'll obviously we watch all those races and like Supercross Saturday nights. We watch all the Supercross stuff.
What do you think about car racing? You into F1 at all or anything?
I'm not big into it. No, my dad's a little bit more into it than I am, but no, I'm not big into it. Just little not a lot of overtakes and stuff like that. Just kind of too long of a race. I can't sit there for longer than an hour without falling asleep. So
What do you think on
agree.
the? You said you watch a ton of MotoGP. What do you think on the whole Marquez situation? Both Marquez brothers, like how lucky they were.
yeah, no, that was insane. After both of them going down and then getting that lucky red flag. I think I think Mark's gonna be unstoppable this year. So
Do you think that they should have been able to start on the front row? We had a discussion about this, like with swapping both their backup bikes.
yeah, I believe so because they weren't the cause of the red flag. Aleix and Morbidelli being the cause of the red flag. I believe Morbidelli shouldn't have been able to restart, but he was also able to restart. So
I didn't even think about that. He was the cause. He still was able to go again. I guess because it was a complete restart, though, probably, huh?
yeah, because there was only 2 laps done.
Yeah.
So what? So Aleix, if he restarted, he would have been able to only on the back row.
No,
'Cause he was the
everyone-
I think he
cause?
was already qualified in the back row.
on the back row.
No, but you know what I'm
I-
saying?
I
Like
think it was
who
a-
actually went to the back?
I think when they do a complete full restart, it doesn't matter.
How? There's
'Cause
a
it
red
basically
flag
like
because of a
erasing-
cause.
Erasing the race from scratch. That's as far as I understand it.
That's insane to me that nobody got penalized.
I know.
Yeah, right.
It is
right.
weird. Who's your guy in GP?
Definitely Mark.
Oh really?
Really?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Is Yamaha gonna be upset about that?
No,
Dude, look, you see him look. He's like,
Yeah, think
"Whoa."
about it. He's like,
it's
oh, boy.
Fabio. It's Fabio, right?
Yeah.
No, but no, definitely was a heartbreaker to see that happen to Fabio this weekend. I do love watching him ride, but no, I mean Mark. I've been watching. He came into MotoGP when I was 6 or 7, I believe, and so right when I really started watching all the races and stuff, and I could kind of start understanding what was going on, and like watching him win all those championships as I was growing up was just amazing. And then, after his 1,000 day streak of not winning a race and, coming back and winning, getting the factory ride back. And, he's definitely one of the best for me.
So which bike from what year, if you could ride any MotoGP bike, what would it be? Unfiltered.
I would love to ride an old 500cc. I love 2-strokes, and I'd probably kill myself on that thing, but it would be a blast to ride. So I'd have to say, is it 02? One of the last few years they were on the 500cc's is what I'd run ride.
Wow.
I don't
I
know.
couldn't do that. What year was?
Yeah.
I don't know. It would have been the last year. It would have been faster during the movie 2001, 2002, 2004. I don't know.
It was
Well,
somewhere
Mickey
around
won
there.
in 6, so it has been a few.
Yeah,
years.
it would have been like 2001 or something because Faster came out, and that's when the transition from V4 and all that was in. With,
You wouldn't ride a 500?
I would, but I wouldn't be my one choice.
Really?
Yeah, Marlboro Ducati.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Isn't
Just
that thing the biggest pile?
just raw power, man.
I don't know.
Or
I
the
wanna ride
or
one
the
of-
Camel Yamaha was sick.
Yeah. The Suter makes a the MX 500. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's like a modern day 500cc
Oh yeah,
two-stroke.
yeah.
They've got one sat over arch of an.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Ride that thing.
They just never rev.
We had a guy ride one at a weir race at Barber.
The Suter
And-
one.
Yeah, and
What?
it was just insane. He bought. They only made, I want to say, 50 of them.
There's not a lot of them.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them, and he bought his number.
Oh wow.
of-
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it was cool watching that thing rip around the track.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've ridden a 2-stroke. Did you ever ride 2-strokes?
Yeah, I rode a 125 and a 250. I
I
was
never even
so
rode a 250.
bad on a 125. I got lapped by PJ at Mid Ohio.
No way.
Yeah,
I,
dude.
I got lapped by
I'm
Elena
done.
Myers on my
Fully
first race.
retired from a 125 career after that.
PJ on a 125 was
Dude,
Yeah,
Like-
he was something else. He was something else for
crazy.
sure.
yeah.
Dude's
I
got
mean,
talent.
That's pretty crazy. Do you ever think about like the careers of some of the guys? Like PJ is probably the most prolific, but do you think about like kind of the places they've been, and now that you're like competing, like truly competing up against them?
Yeah, definitely. And like I was saying earlier, like all these guys, the Superbikes, him racing so much World Super Sport stuff, it's definitely insane that just different times in each of our career. I'm just getting started, but PJ's just coming back down. Maybe, he's got a few more years left in him, but definitely getting to the older side and seeing just everybody at their different times in life is definitely crazy to see.
What do you feel like you've learned, if anything, from riding around guys like PJ and Matt on the track? Like, is there anything you've picked up from their experience on riding different bikes that you were able to kind of soak up really quick?
Really just like we were talking about earlier, just always being on the edge. Watching PJ, it's the same thing. Like coming out of the corner, Matt, I feel like he's more impressive to me. Coming in on the front end of the motorcycle into the corner, but PJ on the exit of the corner is more impressive for me because I don't know how he can spin up so
Dude.
sideways and still drive forward. Like,
It's crazy, isn't it?
yeah,
And he just hangs on to the thing.
I remember last year at Atlanta, I was on the R6, first ever Super Sport race. I'm battling with PJ for the win, and we're coming out of first lap, coming out of turn 12. He's sideways all the way out to the curb. And, I might get a little spin, and I'm like, oh, a little bit of a moment there. PJ's like, sideways and wheelies out of it and just, so crazy. So just being able to stay loose like that would be crazy for me.
It's I'll tell you how he does it. He just goes wide open.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I
His
think
throttle
that's
change
what
is
he
like
was.
this.
He's always been like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the BMW, dude, he was just like straight into the TC.
Yeah, same thing. Watching him at Pittsburgh coming out of the 17, that last long right. He's like straight up and down, just sideways sliding across the track, and it's just like insane stuff.
You would think you would just smoke the tire.
Yeah, right.
No, I always wonder how he doesn't, but
Just a riding style. I don't understand how he gets tired. Doesn't get tired of doing it.
Yeah, right. Just
Like, 'cause he's
climbing over
always-
the bike the whole
yeah,
time, having
always,
to
like-
yank himself up.
he's
like-
little. You don't
It's
have to
crazy,
move too much.
but I mean, he's always been like that. I remember him in BSB doing some crazy stuff because the tracks there are so undulating. You ever watch BSB or anything? And
yeah, I actually went over and watched Codwell in 2023.
oh, that's sick.
that is so cool.
Yeah,
That's-
my old crew chief took me there as a birthday present, and watching that track, it's like, it looks like it's one pavement strip wide, and it's just like, just insane stuff. The jump wasn't even the craziest part of the track. I think right after that, it's like, very one line, just super quick switchbacks. You almost jump as you get onto the brakes at the end of it. Like, it's just insane watching those guys.
That track is unreal. And I mean, even before you go through the chicane before the mountain, and like literally I have a picture of me over the white line. You literally live on the white line and over. So you can go over the white line, and there's like a little, and everybody's on it. Like it's so insane that you're literally on the edges of a track. Like, truthfully, it's one of the craziest tracks that I've ever been to.
Is there any track you like, bucket list track?
Portimao looks amazing.
Dude,
I
so
wanna
good.
go.
Just so much elevation,
good.
so much fast rolling stuff. It looks amazing.
I want
Would
to
you
go to
jump in?
Mugello.
Yeah. Dude, I stood on the outside of Mugello, and it's watching GP at Mugello is mind blowing. Like, going into turn one, you're like, no chance are
So
they fucking
fast.
stopping.
Yeah.
And then to do it 5 wide, 4 wide, 3 wide, 2
Yeah,
wide, and you're like,
right.
the guy in 5th getting that draft, you're like, and you can see them freaking the fuck out. Like, there's no way they're gonna stop. They're like, and legs out, fucking things fucking flapping and shit, and they're like, and they just run wide, and they're like, fuck, dude.
Was it last year? Was it Alex who like barely split through?
Yeah,
or
dude.
anything on the
Yeah,
brakes?
yeah.
And we got, or was it Mark? I don't remember who it was, but you see some of that stuff, and it's.
Dude, it's scary, man. It's
I can't
scary.
imagine with the wings. Were you able to feel the difference with having wings on the R9 to the R6? You can't tell, right?
No,
I can only tell on like a windy day, like the front of the bike gets swept
Really?
a little bit more. Probably not as much on those super sport bikes, so they don't wheelie as much. But on the super bike, you can.
Yeah, right,
You
right.
What do you
feel
think
it
about
more.
baggers?
Before I thought they were a joke. I was like, this is stupid.
You hear that?
Every session they would go out, they would oil the track. And I'm like, come on, get these guys off the track.
Get 'em outta
Get this
here.
man
Yeah,
off the
exactly.
bike. Get this guy off the bike.
No, but now they're real race bikes, Now they're legit. Y'all
Real
running,
racers too, right?
Getting
Still waiting on
closer.
that.
Getting closer.
There's his personality coming out. Damn, it only took 2 hours.
But no, now y'all run right at our lap times, and it's insane what y'all are doing on those things. So no, it's definitely cool to see.
What's the Yamaha make? A Star? Is that what they call their baggers? Come on, dude. You got to get this stuff down, dude.
I just ride the R9. I just ride
What's
the motorcycle.
what would you do like if you like? Because technically at Daytona we would be in the lead draft for like the first 10
Oh
laps.
yeah, for sure.
How fucking wild would it be if you had like just me or Kyle like blah, 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 next to you? Like,
No, I mean, getting a draft off of one of y'all would be insane.
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
like
if you could stay in it, big dog.
I know.
We
I
got
know,
like 10
yeah.
mile an hour on you.
Imagine you guys did the 200 on those things, but instead of coming in and having tires on
Just
the wall, you have
bikes.
tires on the bags. You have to take a rear off.
Take them out the bag and put them on the bike.
How sick would that be?
Can you imagine it? Dude, that would be so sick.
Oh man.
Um,
What about as far as like a role model or I know
Dude,
you said you're a
Kyle Wyman.
Marquez fan.
Daddy.
Daddy Wyman. Is there anyone you kind of looked up to, or who's like your inspiration growing up? You're still growing up, but up until now, who have you kind of looked up to?
I was always a Scott Russell fan. I always loved the
Really?
endurance
I could see
stuff.
it. I
and
could see it.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you do an impression?
No.
Hi.
Hey.
No, but I got to ride.
I feel like you could.
No, I
Come
don't
on,
think I got
give
that.
it a try.
I don't
Come
think
on.
I got that. But no, I got to ride with them. We actually got a call from the guy that works the go-kart track at VIR, and when I was 6 years old. I'm sitting in kindergarten and got a call from him, and he's like, "Hey, Scott Russell's at the go-kart track right now. Like, grab Blake and come on." So my dad picked me up out of school, and we rode with him, and from there I started watching him and watching his old highlights and stuff like that, and like just the stuff that he could do at Daytona and all around everywhere was just insane.
He was a wild man.
Oh yeah,
He was loose
crazy.
on a bike.
He was crazy. He was loose off the bike. I mean, he was just a wild,
Yeah.
wild guy.
brother.
He does a ton of cycling. You ever cycled with him?
Really? No.
Dude, a ton of cycling. He used to, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, super
He hasn't
fit.
been around too much.
No,
recent
I think
years,
he had
huh?
some health
Did he?
stuff. I think so.
Oh, that's a bummer. I
Yeah.
hope he's good.
Yeah.
What about your riding style? Is there anyone you'd say you kind of aspire to ride like, in terms of you're very smooth, you're consistent, you're not really very loose? Is there anyone you aspire to be like?
Riding style wise, not really. I want to be, I definitely think the most important thing is be good on the front end and be able to ride the front end at the limit. So that's kind of another reason I like Mark. He's the best. I believe he's the best rider to ever touch the front end of a motorcycle. Like every time he's on the brakes, he's getting the absolute most out of it. And that's why he always has those crazy saves, because he is always on the limit. But also I'd want to be a little bit more consistent and a little bit smoother. So, not really one person that I want to ride like, just, consistent, good on the front end. And I feel like that'll get you where you need to go.
Do you think that this is like kind of outside the box question? Do you, when you go out in a race, or do you have a plan? Like, obviously you say you want to win, but like within the win.
Yeah, he
like,
got a plan, dude. He already said he was gonna try to fucking block us all weekend up front.
But do you
He's
have
going
like
right back to the front every
do you
time.
have some sort
You
of
heard it.
some sort of plan that you have in your mind before you go out, before each session?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, like practice one, I have a plan definitely is to just, it's a simple plan. Go out and first 5 minutes, BP1. I want to have that time down early to, lead the session and, just get the weekend off to a good start. Even, at Atlanta, I believe I was P2, P3 after practice one, and, just that confidence starting the weekend, and also, not being a step behind from the beginning is so nice. And then, yeah, for like qualifying and races and stuff, obviously qualifying, we have, a tire plan set up, whether it's come in, get a tire halfway through, go out and try and set a heater at the end, or, whatever it is. For qualifying, there's always a plan going out, and, what sector I need to work on. Maybe I'm slow in sector 2, so I'll go pretty much the first half session, grind sector 2, just work on sector 2, get sector 2 good, and then throw on a good tire and then try and get a heater. And then for the races, yeah, like it depends on where I'm fast, how fast I am, everything like that. If feel I'm half second a lap faster than anybody else, I'm going to try and get out front early and see what I can do. But, obviously in super sport, it's not easy to do that. So, a lot of it's just to, honestly, the last year and a half is get to third early and try and latch on, as annoying as it is, try and get behind them early and see what I can do to go with them.
Do you feel like you can make like micro adjustments in the race? Like, can you adapt to I wouldn't say the conditions. Like we saw the GP, a couple of the riders after the restart, right? The front tire wasn't working well. Do you feel like you can adapt in the races, or do you get stuck? Is that a good trait for you?
I feel like weather-wise, I've struggled with it, but like tire-wise and I remember on the twin, we always had to run the R5 rear, and after a heat cycle, like if there was a red flag, the thing's gone.
Yeah.
And so I was always really good, after a red flag, being able to ride on that. But, when the weather comes and it's some mixed conditions, I do struggle there, which I've worked on a lot. And at Atlanta, I was doing really good until the race came. Like, I did good in the wet session before. And then the race came along, and I went slow, and I was like, what's going on? Like, so, yeah, I mean, as far as tires go, and, I've had a few races where I've crashed and picked the bike back up and thrown down a pretty good lap, with bent bars and stuff like that. But I feel like I can adapt to most things.
So a pretty methodical approach. You don't just take the brain out of your and just hammer. You very just.
No, I feel like I'm a calm rider.
There it is.
What did you just say?
Take your brain out of
your hair out of your helmet. Is that what you started to say?
I don't know. We'll have to clip it. I don't know, man.
You're getting tired, dude.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm 33. I need a nap.
I gotta ask. We were talking about it the other day.
We need to know.
What happened with the grill? How'd you knock your tooth out?
Okay, so
dude, have you been waiting for this?
Oh, I knew it was gonna. No,
I loved it, by the way. I thought it was sick.
I was just gonna ask you, as a fellow toothless person, like, why isn't it out?
Well, I have like a Invisalign that has a fake tooth in it. But no, I never race with it in just because I don't want to like crash and choke on it or anything like that. But
we were debating on if Yamaha made you wear it.
Yeah,
when you
like,
signed the
we
contract.
literally were like, dude, he signed, he's got to wear it now. We had a whole debate last night about your tooth.
No. When I was 8, actually, I was at the Heron compound, and I'm going down the front straightaway on the XR100, and somebody came up beside me and clipped my handlebar on the straightaway, and we don't really know what happened, but we think the handlebar came under my helmet, and it hit my tooth. It shoved it straight up, actually, and it broke my jaw, and my tooth ended up in my nose. And
you pulled it out of your nose?
Yeah, I'd go get surgery done. I have cadaver bone in my jaw right here, and then they had to go get my tooth out of my nose. So.
Holy smokes.
What was that like? Like that
I don't
didn't set
remember
you back
most
at all?
of it. No. I remember my dad telling me when we got back to the track, after we went to the hospital that day, I was asking if I could go ride again. He's like, "No, you're just gonna have to work the flags today." So
wait, you literally
went back to the track?
had surgery and then came back?
no, so
Okay.
we went to some dock in the box while we were down there because we thought it just got knocked out.
Wait, what? Dock in a box? What is that?
Yeah, it's like a walk-in clinic.
Like an urgent care?
Yeah.
Dock in a box.
Dude,
That's
I
a
just
good
tried
one,
to
dude.
picture that, and I was like,
That's a new.
is it on the side of the road? Like, do you get boiled peanuts there too?
No.
That's a good name, actually.
love it.
Dock in a box. Like, yeah, I like it.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's run it.
Yeah. All right. Keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, no, I went up to the walk-in clinic, and they didn't know where my tooth was, and they were like, "Okay, well, when you get back home, go to the orthodontist, and they'll tell you how to get stuff straight." And so we got back home. They're like, "They didn't tell you," and we're like, "What?" They're like, "It's in your nose."
Wait, you didn't feel it?
No, I had hit my head pretty hard that on that crash, and I was in and out for quite a long time. They had me off a lot of pain meds. Got back home, and we got back home and went straight to the doctor.
Wait, so you literally did 2 days with a tooth in your nose and you couldn't feel it? And
Yeah.
you, could you move your mouth?
Yeah, because
Like
I
you
was,
ate and stuff?
No, I couldn't
Okay.
eat. I had to eat the muscle milk and stuff like that. Like I couldn't eat a real solid food for probably a week, and yeah, until I got back, figured everything out. Then immediately, I believe it was like 2 or 3 days after I got back home, had surgery.
What?
And yeah.
I feel like it's like I feel like it would be like emergency surgery
Yeah,
if
that's
you
what it
have
sounds like.
were you not bleeding like off your face?
No.
What?
I mean,
That's
I was
crazy.
after the crash for a while, but after we went to the walk-in clinic, they stopped all the bleeding, and we're shoving gauze up in my jaw, and
I'm like absolutely blown away that like you like this tooth is in your fucking nose. And like 3 days later they're like, "Hey, let's do surgery."
yeah,
Yeah.
so
That
it's
is
pretty
crazy.
wild.
What?
Is that your biggest injury so far?
Do you have the tooth?
We used to.
Gave
we
it to the
used
tooth fairy.
I haven't seen it in forever, but we used to. They gave it to us in like a little
Plaque.
pouch.
You were young enough to give it to the tooth fairy, probably, right?
Yeah, right. I was still 8 years
Could've
old.
made a couple
shit,
bucks off
yeah.
that bad
Yeah,
boy.
right.
So it's the other one hasn't grown in?
And no, that was a permanent one.
That was
Oh.
your adult tooth.
Yeah.
That,
Alright,
that
man.
sucks.
So
That's crazy.
So
but
they're gonna have to, when you get them fully dialed in, they'll have to put an anchor in and put a fake one in.
yeah, they said whenever my mouth stops growing, and so they said 18 to 25.
wow.
Dang,
So it could be a few more years.
I loved it. I thought it was like a good.
I thought you were like a hockey player.
Yeah,
It
right.
looks
that would be
pretty
a good
badass.
story.
Yeah.
We thought it was like kind of your thing.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of what I'm known by. My mom hates it. She a few years ago, I got a pretty good check from racing a race up in New Hampshire, and
Loudon?
yeah. And so they asked me, they were like, "What are you gonna do with this money?" And I told them I was gonna go try and get a new tooth. And my mom was so embarrassed, you know. And
I love that.
so I love messing with her about it.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
Oh, that's good. What are you doing the classic this year?
I don't believe so.
Yeah,
No.
more of a reason to
Dude,
go.
everybody can't because of what, the ridge?
Yeah, the ridge is right after it, but then also just it's such a dangerous track. You know, a lot of the manufacturers don't like riders doing it and stuff like that. So I'd love to do it. Just it's not always the best idea right before a MotoAmerica race.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course you got a championship to fight for.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think this has been absolutely
Yeah.
unreal. Do you know what's coming?
I don't believe so.
So you don't watch the pod. You've never listened to it
Not
no,
all the way
I
through.
listened to Cam Peterson's.
the whole way.
Most of it
Nah,
at least.
Everybody, man.
He's young. He's got a short attention
It's all
span.
right. It's
That's
okay.
what they say
It's
about
all
these
right.
kids these
It's all
days.
right. Well, I already know what it's gonna be, but hit him with it.
All right. Well, so
What is he on death row for? What are you on death row for?
Stuff and Maddie, last corner, Road America.
maybe.
He's on
Maybe.
Was he
death row.
mad at all or no?
Sorry?
Was he mad at all, like for the stuffs?
No.
Yeah, he probably just fired up.
Yeah, he had already wadded himself pretty big that race, so he's just fired up for sure.
Yeah.
Bro.
Well, you're on death row because you stuffed Maddie a little too hard, and you had to claim self-defense. What's your death row meal? What are you eating on your last day here on Earth?
And you can't have alcohol, so
Yeah, you're not
it's
old
like
enough.
it's meal and dessert.
I'd have to say I'd go seafood for sure, probably like shrimp and lobster.
From where?
Oh, I think it's called Captain Jack's. It's a place in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we always go there. It's just amazing, and so I'd have to go there, get some butter, the whole nine, some steak, do a little surf and turf, and
Hell
that'd be
yeah.
it.
What's your go-to non-alcoholic beverage? You like a sweet tea kind of guy?
No, I'm not a big tea
Soda.
guy.
No.
Not a big soda guy.
Just
I
water.
really just drink water. Yeah, liquid IV.
Roast your
Yes.
pipes. Drink too much water, just so you know. As my grandfather says.
Really,
Yeah.
really.
So
Too much
you-
water's not
dessert,
good for you.
dessert or savory? Sweet or savory?
I'd have to say savory.
Okay, so you don't do dessert.
I will, but I would just rather eat more food.
Okay, so we're going to Captain Jack's in Myrtle Beach, and we're having steak and lobster,
Surf and turf.
Yeah,
couple
yeah.
shrimp.
couple shrimp.
Yep.
Dude, I love that Myrtle Beach, Captain Jack's. Let's do it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Where does everyone find you? What's your stuff? You got a website?
Yeah, Blake Davis Racing on all
You got a
social
MySpace?
media.
What's your fax
What?
number?
Dude, what? What's your website, dude? What?
I'm just trying to get them out there, dude.
No, yeah, it's just Blake Davis Racing on all social media. And yeah, go check everything out. That's, like I said, social media is how we get sponsors. So
You do any helmet stickers? You got any deals You looking for any sponsors?
We could always figure something out. We could always figure something out.
I like
So,
it.
Never
like
turn
it.
down anything.
Well, dude, we only take 30%, so it's not a big deal.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
no, we'll manage you real good.
just sign on the dotted line.
You're the
here.
ones you warned me about.
No, dude, this has been unreal. I actually didn't know a lot of your story. I've just seen you on the racetrack and winning. So it's really cool to get a little bit more of your backstory. Hopefully, we can do a part 2 after a championship or 2 in the bigger class. And I wish you the best, and I hope everybody kind of understands a little bit more about Blake Davis and how you tick and how methodical you are and how you were able to step out from the younger generation and really come up a traditional, non-traditional way, and to be with a manufacturer at such a young age is really cool. So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Big fan. Don't beat up on us too hard this year.
Hey, no promises. But yeah, thank y'all for having me. It's been great for sure.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate it. And we'll have to get back on here soon.
Awesome.
Good luck this weekend. And that's it. Pipe Dreams out. Follow us on Pipe Dreams Pod, pipedreamspod.com. Big website.
For everything, and just,
buy one of James's shirts. He's got some special edition stuff.
new livery shirt coming out. You're going to love it. Silver bullet, baby.
You're going to hook me up, give me a free one or something, right?
He's working a deal.
Dude,
Jimmy don't give nothing to nobody.
Ain't no freebies, baby.
All right. Maybe I'll help you out a little bit.
There you go.
He'll sponsor you this
Listen, we got a mortgage to pay for. You'll get it soon.
I'm going to get a helmet sticker.
Yeah, we might. Depends. You keep beating on my boy, I'm going to have to put Pipe Dreams on there somewhere. No, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, dude.
Yeah,
Later.
thank you both.